ever.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me call this meeting of Regulated Industries to order. I apologize if I get into a coughing fit up here. I'm suffering from a head cold and trying to do everything I can to keep it from moving into my fragile lungs. And I know some of y'all smirk when you say fragile because there ain't much fragile about me. But I do suffer from that type of condition. Too many years of a misspent youth. But that being said, I've got a bottle of cough medicine and plenty of cough drops up here. All right, we've got a couple of things as a preview to the hearings today. I want to talk about a couple of issues. First off, our very own member, Ms. Bennett, she informed me today that she's also a minister, and want to know why I'd never called on her to say devotion. Well, quite frankly, I think devotion once a day is enough, but we're going to pass that rule today, and we're going to let Ms. Bennett have devotion today. Please.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. God, we come before you today as servants serving your people. Be with us as we deliberate, listen, consider, dear Lord, and decide, and let it be for the way you want and not of our own making. Bless the leadership and bless those who have come to testify. Bless all those impacted. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett. And while you've got the microphone, for an FYI for the committee members, as y'all well know, we also regulate the licensing division over at the Secretary of State's office. I'd received a call from Ms. Bennett a week or so ago about an issue about renewals in the renewal process, and I'm going to let her just give just a brief, if she wouldn't, talk about this. And this dealt with one specific licensing and some of the changes they're making, which I want to put this bug in your mind that this may be the next thing that we start having some hearings on about that. Ms. Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Many of you may or may not know that I am a doctor of physical therapy, and I am licensed by the Secretary of State's office. And the association and members of the Physical Therapy Association reached out to me a couple of weeks ago because this is a relicensure year, and the Secretary of State in the state of Georgia has changed over their platform. Did I talk too loud? They changed over the platform, and there are all kinds of havoc and difficulties and problems in this system. And so 15,000 physical therapists, and then there are a number of other professions that are now on this platform. And they're having a hard time getting through. And so in speaking with the one of the persons who work with this, they indicated and admitted that there is a flaw in the system. Yet there's nothing being done to either extend the time for the relicensure or to expedite the correcting of the software. And what our constituents are being told, just keep trying. And as you know, some of these professionals have done hours and spent hours and hours just trying to get their licensure done online. And so I've asked Mr. Chairman if we could take a look at it, see if we could expedite or encourage the powers that be to fix this problem or extend the deadline for relicensure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. And since you've been so kind to do that, I'm going to let you follow up as somewhat as the eyes and ears of the committee. And if you'd like to pick a couple of the members to maybe make some questions, go talk to the Secretary of State's office, find out a little bit about this, the technology and the renewal process and where the downfall is over there. And if you would, I'm trying to think somebody. You got a couple of folks you'd like to?
Hutchinson,
Ms. Hutchinson?
Maynard, and McDonald.
Fine. If you could, you've got, you'll have a little over a month before the new session starts, which doesn't necessarily mean that we won't have another committee meeting or so during the month of December.
Keeping with the topic of the meeting later on today,
Very good. Well, let's see if we can get Ticketmaster to sell them for you. All right. All right. Before we move into the hearing today, Representative Anderson, if you would go to the podium, please. Representative Anderson has brought up a bill toward the end of the session, and it was sent to us in something else that we'll probably look at. We don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but it might be worthwhile. Let him just sort of give us a briefing on it today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, we had House Resolution 473 sent to this committee. This is a resolution that originally was asking for a House Study Committee, and of course with the volume of House Study Committee requests and the limited number we had last year, it didn't make it through that. So the chairman and I had spoken about this matter, and he thought it may be something that the committee may want to consider. This is not a resolution or a topic that I came up with on my own. I was actually approached by the industry. In 2020, the U.S. Occupational Safety and Health Association or Administration, OSHA, determined that the tree care industry, because of the level of the number of fatalities, is one of the most dangerous industries in the nation. And in the state of Georgia, there is no regulation, there is no licensing. If you basically have a chainsaw and a pickup truck, you're a tree trimmer. And the industry is concerned. They're concerned not only for the safety and the protection of their members and the people in their trade, but they're also concerned for the consumers, because this is also one of the highest rated consumer complaints to the Better Business Bureau. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm basically asking if you could possibly appoint a subcommittee to look into the possible solutions that the state could come about to help protect not only the consumers in the state of Georgia, but also the people in this who choose this trade for their profession.
Very good. Thank you so much. To the members, as our friend, the good representative, stated, we're talking about an industry that is not licensed. In all honesty, I don't know that it will be licensed, because, there's been a movement afoot that we got way too many folks that are licensed today as it is. But the profession and the more professional folks, they do see the need for that. While we may not do full licensure for tree cutters, doesn't mean that there couldn't be certain criteria put in for those who offer themselves as professionals, or something to safeguard the public, the consumers, hiring folks. So that being said, I would encourage all the members to get in touch with Representative Anderson and maybe talk to them about some of this. And if y'all have any ideas before January, the whatever it is, forward it back. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're to the main event right now. I'm sorry, I do have one other issue I want to bring up. Last year, I think in the month of January, first month of the session, Regulated Industries Committee, that is the Committee on Lottery Oversight, had a lively oversight meeting at that time. A lot of questions were put forth, and we got a lot of material back, and didn't necessarily get all the answers to some of the questions we had asked. So as a matter of putting y'all on guard now, we will be doing a lottery oversight meeting. Start getting your questions up from whatever you hear, retailers otherwise. I know they seem to have some issues right now that a lot of the retail establishments don't have access to machines, to the lottery dispensaries, into their stores. That's just one of the things that this committee needs to know about to start getting ready for those meetings, if you don't mind. And with that, I'll move on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a lively subject before us, and that would be Representative Hilton's bill, and that would be House Bill 398. We had some meetings back during the session. There was some lively discussion then. We had a meeting back a few weeks ago, and right now everything we're doing, we're just trying to research. I think most of y'all knew and have heard me talk about it. Back in the 90s, I had gotten involved into the resale of tickets at that time. Matter of fact, passed the bill 4 times before the governor finally signed it. Kind of left a bad taste in my mouth at that time and never got over it, but it gave me enough sense not to get back into the ticket brokering bill again. Representative Hilton has come forth with an idea. Now, things have certainly changed over the years, and I'm going to just relay my observations to the committee. I don't know where I stand at on this bill. I still stand in a position that as a consumer or as an individual that once I buy something, that belongs to me. That's my property, and I should be able to dispense with it. But because of technology and because of everything else, it appears to be a whole lot more issues today. One is they don't issue a ticket anymore. Everything's done on that magic telephone that you've got. I think somebody at the last meeting might have poked a little fun at me when said something about a PDF, and Haley said, "Hey, we don't even know what a PDF is anymore," which wouldn't make me, if I buy a ticket, I think they ought to be able to send me a PDF upon my request. But we've gotten into a lot of the discussion, and a lot of this discussion is based more about the technology that's involved. Botting. I didn't know what a bot was until this bill was put out. We started discussing that about these folks that are scamming the airways to try to buy all these tickets up and all of that. I understand the concerns that the industry may have. Then we started talking to the folks at Live Nation's got their legislative engineers that's been working this thing pretty good. Then you've got the other folks. You've got other ticket sellers. I think they call them the secondary market sellers. You've got actual brokers who are brokering tickets and all of that. So to me, this is all over the board, which makes it difficult, quite frankly, to wrap your hands around all of this. I take Representative Hilton at the value that he is trying to do what is in the best interest of the consumer. Now, that being said, we've had a couple of meetings. We've just had a meeting that was an eye-opener in its own right to a lot of the questions. I had reached out to the committee members. I want y'all to, as committee members, to see if you can delve into this. We're going to have some testimony today, probably not as much testimony because we had that at the last meeting. We are going to, I've asked Brian, our right hand of the committee, to do some things for me, like putting up on our boards over there, walk us through the process. Somebody wants to buy a ticket. First, I want them to go to Ticketmaster to show us how tickets are bought. Let's take a look at the fees. Then go to the secondary, 1 or 2 examples of the secondary folks. So we can see this, because it looked to me like it's just fee after fee after fee that's being charged. Quite frankly, I hear what the industry says, but when you've got a multi-billion-dollar industry that sells entertainment and sporting venue tickets, that's real money. I don't understand why they can't cure the bot system or this bot process and all that, but between artificial intelligence, it's more intelligent than I am on technology. Maybe that's the cure, but there's got to be some solutions to this to pacify the artist, to pacify the venue for sports and entertainment, because as of right now, it appears to me that the only loser in this deal is not Ticketmaster or StubHub or the Braves or Taylor Swift, because they're going to get their posted price for their tickets when it's sold, whether it's by a bot or an individual. They're going to receive their posted price. To me, the biggest loser in this is the consumer, and that's what I think this committee should be more concerned about, and that's the consumer and the consumer's right. Certain things that I'd picked up back in the fall, that some of these folks will sell you a ticket. They'll take your money, put it on your credit card, and then when it comes time for that venue, sorry, we don't have the ticket. It fell through. Well, quite honestly, in this society we live in, and it may not be vogue today, But in this society we live in, is once you pay for something, somebody should have had that ticket when that ticket was sold. And maybe those are some requirements that we need to start putting into looking at. So that being said, I'm going to get Brian to go ahead and do his magic with, and I apologize that this is the only room we could get today. But you know, reapportionment and some other committees are meeting and they beat us to the punch. So, but I guess this is where we're going to be doing it at.
Just press the button for me.
And maybe we can look and see, and some of this might conjure up some ideas so we can see exactly how this process works and fees that are charged and things like that.
So just to start out, I figured we start off with Ticketmaster. So for example, this is probably the best example I can think of that actually has some inventory, both resale and like primary tickets. So usually Ticketmaster, for example, will be a lot of where you get the first tickets you can buy, like the face value tickets, before they actually are like on a resale market. But you can also get those on Ticketmaster too. So for example, with the Hawks. Let's show. Is it? Yes. This well, it has both on there. So a lot of times, what I found in like emails, for example, you'll get they'll say we've got the pre-sale, and they'll send those around. And those are just the front end tickets, like just the primary. But like something like this, you're gonna see they'll actually have both. It'll even show you. It'll show you like standard admission versus verified reseller. So let's show. Sure. So here, for example, this one's on December 6th, the Hawks versus the Nets. So this is for 2 tickets, and hopefully you can see them. I tried to zoom in. So here. Apparently the site does not like to be zoomed in. There we go. So you can kind of see over here on the right-hand side. So you've got some lower-end tickets, like section 203, row D. It'll show like verified reseller ticket on the right here. I'll try to zoom in. Hopefully you can see that right here. Whereas versus it'll show you like standard admission. So that'd be your primary versus your reselling. Now, for example, here's another one. So if you were to go to, so for Hamilton's coming back to Atlanta in the next couple months. So they're actually doing the pre-sale actually on the Fox Theater's website itself. So you'd scroll down and figure out what tickets you want. These are just going to be primary tickets. So let's say you're going to want the February 2nd. And so you can kind of see it'll let you pick wherever you'd want to go. And it'll show you right here. Like, so the tickets go from roughly about 79 to 129 depending on where they're at. So let's just pick this spot, give you an idea. So like this seat here, roughly about $129, plus it actually shows you what the fees would be too. So if we want to select that, add it to the cart, you can see this whole actual subtotal. So I think it was showing about $120 for the ticket itself. It adds fees on top of that to about $158, and then it charges you an extra $5 for like a convenience fee type thing. So your total will be about $163.75 for like a primary ticket. Now, if you were to go back to Ticketmaster, or here, we can even go to StubHub, actually, we'll show. Ticketmaster has these also, but same seats roughly February 2nd, same date, same amount of tickets. So these are actually, if you look on the right here, these are showing about, you can see, these are showing about 173 is the cheapest one. Now, what's interesting though, and what's kind of been touched on testimony, this doesn't show the actual fees that go into that too. That's just like the base ticket. But with StubHub, if you go over to the left-hand side, you can go to price display options, and you can include estimated fees. And you'll see that, so it jumps from about 173 to 234 with the fees. So So if you were to put that in the cart. Let's see, 2 tickets. And also here you can see on the right-hand side too, I know it's been discussed with the bots, you generally are given about 10 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes to make your purchase. So let's see. So whereas before, I think on the primary it was about 120 base, 163 with everything. Roughly this comes out to about 235, give or take. So let's see. SeatGeek also does similar as well, so let's find the same date. February 2nd. So if you actually, so these are actually showing, the lowest is 196 for the same, generally the same area. Whereas if you go to the checkout on this one, what I thought was interesting is you can put in information. So I can put in my mobile number, it'll go to the billing. They actually won't let you see all the fees until you put in your credit card number. So you can't actually see everything on the front end, whereas like, you know, at least StubHub would show you estimated fees. There's other ones here. You can go to like, here, let's show you, since we talked about Ticketmaster is both primary and secondary. So if I wanted to find Hamilton, Atlanta. I believe in a lot of cases, I can't tell if it's doing this here, but generally for the most part, a lot of Ticketmaster ones that I've seen will say this is an event that shows you all the fees on the front end. So it looks like certain events or certain bands or whoever can actually opt into that and make sure they show everything on the front end. So it's not kind of hiding those estimated fees until you get to the checkout, but it doesn't seem like that's universal either. Now I thought this was interesting as well. So I know we heard in testimony as well about the Savannah Bananas. I believe their owner was not a huge fan of how certain things were marketed for resale. So if you actually go to this website and you want to get tickets, they'll kind of give you a whole laydown of everything, and they'll go through like the FAQ and kind of discuss how can I get tickets. From best I can tell, it looks like they kind of do like a lottery system of 2 months prior to the actual game and the event. So these tickets, you know, I think you can actually go on some of these websites and find tickets available. I believe it was, yes, Vivid Seats has them. So I searched for same game kind of thing, and they'll list like, you know, $199 for a ticket. And I want to say this is February, give or take. I'm sorry, March 28th. So just based on the Savannah Bananas website, I don't know that these tickets are actually available just based on that because there's the lottery system 2 months prior. Obviously, we're not 2 months before March. So what's interesting, though, is if you look at they have a disclaimer here under the notes section, which you're probably not going to be able to see. I'll try to blow this up for you. This computer does not want to cooperate today. Well, regardless, on the right-hand side here in the fine print, it says this is a Seat Saver listing. Seat Saver is a service for tickets that the seller does not own but is offering to buy for you. Once your order is placed and then confirmed, your price is locked in. We guarantee your tickets will be within the section listed or comparable, and you will receive your tickets in time for the event, or you will receive your money back. Note that orders exceeding 4 tickets may be split into different rows within the requested or a comparable section. Specific seats are not assigned until delivery. So that just kind of gives you an idea. That's an example of one of the ones that isn't already owned by the person selling on the reselling market. There's also, so that's just purchasing. If you wanted to go, and each one of these websites handles it differently. I think generally they charge different fees. Obviously, we've shown like if you're buying, there'll be fees that the buyer has to pay for a lot of these websites. Some of them are less, some of them are more. There's other ones that'll actually charge more for the sellers to, like, if they're charging the buyer less, then usually they'll kind of jack up the fees for the seller. But some of them will kind of balance that out as well. So they'll all kind of have different ones. So for example, this was for Hamilton, so let's just say we had tickets for February 2nd, you wanted to sell them. This is the process you would go through. Kind of says, you know, what are you listing, mobile ticket type, edit the ticket. I'm ready to transfer, and then let's say, I believe it was orchestra. That's left to center. First see what's say. Okay, so let's say if we paid roughly about $160 in the primary market for the Hamilton ticket. Generally, you'd want to make a profit, so you'd sell somewhere upwards of that, let's say $230 as a listing. So this is if we bought 2 tickets, obviously at that price. As you can see here on the right, it says if all of your tickets sell, you'll earn $410.46. Let's see. There's obviously a tax requirement that it asks you to. It actually asks how much you made, or how much you paid on the front end. So let's say about 160 roughly. And as you can see here, payout method, most direct deposits happen 5 to 8 business days after the event takes place. And then what else is needed for the listing? And I'd actually have to add the payment to see if they add the credit card to go through with the process. But they will add fees onto that for the seller as well, just to accommodate. So you'll list the price, they'll take a cut out of it, generally a percentage. Chairman, was there anything else you wanted to see in particular too?
Any of the committee members specific questions about what Brian has brought forth?
All right, but first you'll have to unlock your device.
Nope. Siri's gonna answer it, Mr. Chair. Siri, can I get a question in this?
You certainly can. Mr. Mitchell, what's your number down there, please?
The secondary platform, verified ticket, first of all, could you explain what a verified ticket is, and then the StubHubs or other secondary platforms, do they verify tickets?
That might be a better question for them on actually the process they go through. But I'm assuming Ticketmaster and StubHub might have some kind of relationship where they verify, or maybe if it's somebody who's had a relationship with them in the past, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
All right. All right, number 10. Who is number 10 now? All right, I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
So Billy, they don't actually. Whoever the primary seller is has the verification process. So Ticketmaster, being the primary on most events, can sell you a verified resale ticket because that ticket's in their infrastructure. All right, the StubHubs, the Vivid Seats, the SeatGeeks, all the other guys. Basically, someone that sells would set an account up and would have to provide a credit card so that if they sold you a fraudulent ticket, they would be billed for that so that the buyer would be made whole plus a penalty. So that's kind of how it works. The buyer's protected by the credit card of the seller.
But they don't have to prove that they have a ticket, is that correct?
That's correct. Now you can upload them. If it's a PDF that we talked about before, there's a mechanism to upload those tickets to those secondary sites. But it's becoming increasingly difficult to do that because the primary sellers are not providing a PDF that can be uploaded.
Mr. Chairman, we got 1 minute, please purchase those tickets.
All right. Ms. Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In trying to understand this, I believe you said in your presentation, for example, Ticketmasters was both the primary and the secondary.
Sure.
But at primary, the tickets would cost one amount, and at secondary, the tickets would be a higher amount.
I would imagine that could fluctuate depending on the popularity. So obviously, if you're, let's say I'm a ticket broker, and just to give you an idea, I have Atlanta United season tickets. So let's say that I'm somebody that wants to buy a Atlanta United ticket. I could buy it on face value from Atlanta United through Ticketmaster, and then I'm kind of banking that that amount will go up if I'm intending to sell it, right? It might not be. Let's say Messi doesn't show up for the game in Atlanta, so whereas I'm thinking I'll make $200 in a ticket, I actually make I actually take a hit, right? I could sell it for $30 less in addition to whatever fees it might cost. So it's a bit of a gambling game in that.
So the secondary market is just the resale of the ticket.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
Chairman Martin.
Okay, so I understand, Mr. Chairman, I missed your last meeting, but I understand the conversation before this about protecting the artist and the bots and so forth. But as I understand it, if you buy a ticket from your favorite college football program, there is a group selected that you can resell that through. I mean, that most colleges have that. I mean, I'm a Georgia fan. They have. I'm not going to pick on the vendor, the secondary market, but X we'll use. Although we can't even use that now because Elon Musk messed that up for us. So Y. So company Y is the seller, and that's the only person that ticket can be sold. The only company that ticket can be sold for, and your experience is that may or may not be that company may not even show the fees that are going to be sold that are going to be charged for that ticket, right?
Well, so I'll just speak from experience. I haven't bought and sold UGA tickets, but at least with Atlanta United, let's use them as an example. If I buy I have season tickets, if I decide I can't make a game, it'll go through Ticketmaster by default. I don't have to use Ticketmaster. I could, take the effort to go, list it on StubHub or any other site I want. But generally, it's easiest to do it through Ticketmaster. And then what they'll do is they'll show me, this is the amount that I want to list it for, this is the fees that will be taken out, this is the money that I'll actually make once it hits my bank account. I'm assuming college football is similar, but I can't say for sure.
So in discussion, there you do get a choice. I was under the impression that some of these tickets had to be sold. For instance, the Georgia-Florida game, Ticketmaster handles them, and my understanding is you can't extricate that ticket from Ticketmaster. Is that a true statement, or do we need to ask them later on?
I would defer to Representative Hilton, but I will say I think a lot of times if you, for example, if you sell it on StubHub, right? Maybe you list it on both. Maybe you list it on Ticketmaster and StubHub to see which one makes you more money.
But you can't. That's my question. I don't believe you can, in fact, do that.
I think you can. You just have to pull the ticket from the other website before it gets sold on both. Don't quote me, I believe that's the case. But what I would say is generally what you would do is if you decide that you want to sell it through StubHub, you would basically list it on there, wait till it's sold, and then transfer it via Ticketmaster's service. And that I don't believe costs a fee for that. And you would just kind of transfer it over to whoever is requesting it or whoever purchased it. So it'd be a little bit extra effort than just listing it on Ticketmaster, where it automatically goes to the person who buys it on there.
Okay, maybe, Mr. Chairman, I might need to wait for some of the vendors to come up, because what I did a little research, and I found a particular event, and I found that the same ticket listed on multiple sites, but it was actually only listed once. And I talked to the fellow that listed it. He had only listed it on one site. He had listed it on Y, the company approved site. But it was showing up on these other platforms because those other platforms scrape that site, put the ticket on their site, add their fees to it, and if they buy it, then they go to the other site, and as you're buying it from them, they're locking it up on the third party side, it would seem. So maybe later on, my point is that some of the research I did on some higher priced tickets, you had a situation where somebody sold the tickets. They were asking $800 or something, $850. It was a $5,100 tab. They were going to get $4,600, and the buyer paid $6,000. So somebody in this thing paid $1,500 extra, a 30% surcharge to have the tickets listed, and that's why I'm asking: is this a monopolistic type thing? Because if so, that's kind of tough. I mean, you're letting them have a monopoly and then charge whatever they wish. I mean, if you want to control who can relist your tickets, somewhere to protect the consumer, there's got to be a maximum amount of value that's being provided, it would seem. I mean, you trade one for the other, right? Georgia Power has a monopoly here, but they're regulated by the PSC. to a percent of return. But Mr. Chairman, I just want to bring that up as a question to the gentleman, and then maybe we can get, when the other folks get out here, they can inform me more.
Thank you, Chairman.
Just to follow up on that, I think that's very similar to kind of what we saw with Vivid, obviously with the Savannah, with Vivid seats with the Savannah Banana tickets, where somebody didn't have the tickets in possession, offered them on another site with a promise to buy those if they could. And obviously if they couldn't, they would refund the money. It sounds like that would be a similar instance, where they're just charging a huge up fee on it, basically saying, you pay this fee, we'll buy it from the other site.
Chairman Carpenter.
Thank you, Chairman. So, to Chairman Martin's point, what I think what this whole conversation is about the movement to those monopolistic practices that you're talking about. It does not exist today. Ticketmaster doesn't control your tickets. With the University of Georgia, that used to be StubHub, now it's SeatGeek, they don't control your tickets. You can sell them on other sites. They're just making it increasingly technologically difficult to work outside of their ecosystem. So as they're doing that, they're causing a monopoly. And that's why everybody else is up in arms. They're saying, look, today it's not occurring, but it's going to occur because that's where technology is taking it, and they're locking everybody out. So that's the issue.
All right. Any other questions from this distinguished panel? I got questions, but I don't know what they are. You know, every time we move into another section of this whole thing gets more complicated, but, all right. Questions for the committee? Any of the committee want to? We have the legislative engineers. I'm sure we got folks with Ticketmaster again. Wave your hand so I can identify you. Ticketmaster? Nobody from Ticketmaster's here? All right. StubHub. All right. And I don't know how many other secondary sellers there are. So that being said, to the committee members, this is, you know, this thing is intriguingly complicated, to say the least. But it looks to me like I'd made some observations after the last meeting that we had. You know, you have Ticketmaster that seems to be the biggest gorilla in the jungle, and you know, they sell tickets for entertainers and for venues for sports and such as that. But then it came out in that last one that they actually shift some of their tickets down to the secondary sellers and things like that. And so it doesn't seem to me to be a whole lot of simplicity to any of this. I know that as they have came to talk to me, they keep talking about the number one problem they have is the botting issue. So if any of them would like to address this, or if any of the committee members would like them to address it. Chairman Martin?
All right, so at the risk of, you know, identifying myself, I'm a season ticket holder at Georgia. With via my contributions and so forth, I was able to purchase 2 tickets to the SEC championship game that showed up in my Georgia account. But they say I can't do anything with them. They check back until 48 hours before the game. You know, I can't do anything. I just looked as we were sitting in the room here. The reason I can't do anything with them is Ticketmaster's holding them hostage. They're actually on the Ticketmaster site that I can, if I want to do anything with them until 48 hours before the game, it would appear I'd have to do it through Ticketmaster. Now, Chairman Carpenter down there might know different, but is that what you're talking about, that they just kind of, you know, they slow you down? So if my son were coming in from out of town and I need to even transfer the tickets for him, not even sell them, just transfer them to him, I can't do that till 48 hours before the game. I think that's what people, I mean, you provide a service, you guys, whatever, you know, StubHub, SeatGeek, whatever, y'all provide a service, but at some time, you know, if you hold your customers too tight, there's going to be a revolt, and that's what we got here. I mean, how much is it worth Is it worth $250 a ticket if somebody sold a ticket for $850? I mean, some customer has to pay $250 a ticket because they have to go through your site. But if the ticket was $50, it would have been $15 a ticket. I mean, at some point, how much is, if it's a $1,700 ticket, is it going to be $450 a ticket, for doing the transaction? I mean, well, I know it is, but and that's fine if it's a competitive market. But when you're trying to lock people into it, that's where the pushback. There's got to be a way home here, but I think there's where the pushback is. And by the way, Ticketmaster's not holding my tickets hostage because they're Ticketmaster. It's the SEC conference has a deal with Ticketmaster, so I mean they're not doing anything sinister. That's just how the deal works.
Ms. Maynor, would you like to ask a question before
Yes,
the
thank you, Chair.
Ticketmaster expert?
I guess really my question is, if it is a Georgia game, why is Georgia allowing Ticketmaster to hold their product hostage?
Well, it's not. It's an SEC. To be clear, the SEC conference makes. Mr. Chairman, the SEC conference made that deal, not the university.
And so then why is the SEC allowing a ticketing agency to hold the ticket hostage?
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer that. I'm Chandler Hayden. I represent Live Nation and Ticketmaster, and I can try to answer some of your questions. Obviously, I don't have anyone here from Ticketmaster today. We were going to try to do something virtual, but because of this room, but I'll try to answer your question. So that is actually the artist or the team's decision. It's not Ticketmaster. They tell us how they want to sell the tickets. So it is not Ticketmaster making the decision to wait 48 hours. It is either the artist or a team. I do know that for sure.
So my question, one of my questions would be, so Chairman Martin, you have those tickets in your queue. If you wanted to resell them, could you resell them on the Ticketmaster website?
May be able to. I don't know.
Is it?
Unless it's a non-transferable ticket, then yes, you could resell it on the Ticketmaster. And I actually texted Representative Martin, and I'll be more than happy to buy his tickets.
Right.
Let me be clear. They're not for sale.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I guess my question is, if I buy a ticket from Ticketmaster to an event,
Mm-hmm.
and I decide I want to resell that, you provide a platform that I can do that.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
And I can sell it for whatever I want to sell it for?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So you're telling me that as a consumer, if I want to buy tickets to a concert to take my little girl to see Taylor Swift, I could go online and I could buy a ticket on your platform.
Yes, sir.
Ticketmaster platform. And then if something happened and we decided we didn't want to take her, I have a platform where I can go that's secure, that's genuine,
Yes,
that I can resell that ticket.
right.
I just have to go through your website to do that.
Yes, sir. Now I will. Now you could sell it on other platforms unless it's a non-transferable ticket, and it will very clearly state this is a non-transferable ticket.
Before I purchase it.
Yes, sir. And then also, artist. So I'm going to just talk for a minute on the artist side. The artist determines whether or not they want their tickets transferred. Like, for instance, The Cure. The Cure had a concert here in Atlanta, and their tickets were non-transferable, all of them. That rarely ever happens. Usually, but because they wanted to sell just to their fans, So they also had a fan-to-fan exchange. So you could send your tickets to somebody else on a fan-to-fan exchange. So it really depends. There are all different kinds of ways to do it. But most of the tickets, over 90% of the tickets, are transferable. And so you could, if you couldn't upload, I mean, you could sell it on StubHub if it was a non-transferable ticket, or you could use Ticketmaster.
And to be clear, I'm using this example.
Okay.
I'm a Georgia fan, and I'll be there Saturday night if I'm healthy.
Well, I was really hoping to get your tickets.
But so these are with, and again, to be clear, the Southeastern Conference made that decision, not Ticketmaster.
Right.
You're doing that. But even though it's not on Georgia's platform, which is showing me I have the ticket in my account, and I guess ultimately it'll get transferred to there. Your representation is that I could sell that on a site other than Ticketmaster now.
Well, as far as I know, unless it's a non-transferable ticket.
Well, I mean, it's not a non-transferable ticket
Okay.
because it can be sold on Ticketmaster.
Yeah, you could sell it on another. I mean, I was just looking up tickets a minute ago. And I actually, so there's a ticket, there are tickets available on other platforms. I just looked it up to see. Now, they're not a verified resale ticket. So, yeah, I mean, you could sell it on, if you were, say somebody buys the fraudulent ticket or buys a fraudulent ticket that somebody really doesn't have in hand, like, for instance, on StubHub, you might get your money back, but you're not getting your ticket.
No, I
Period.
understand.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get into if it's
Yeah.
a real ticket
Okay.
or not. It's just if I see one sell button on Ticketmaster here, and I'm guessing if I press that, I'm not getting.
Yeah.
I'm not going down that that path.
Well,
but
I'm
not even going to do that here. But if I press that, it would be taking me to sell on Ticketmaster.
Yes, it
Okay.
would, absolutely.
So the
because
how
they
do
have a resale
How do I
platform.
get the ticket to sell on another platform? You would just have to list it as a section seat number. Is that what you would do? Is just list it without a ticket really being out there, so it wouldn't be a verifiable ticket. And then if it sells, then you would have to do that. Okay, which I think is right. Which brings me back to the point. That's so difficult to do, and the ticket is of less value selling it as a non-verifiable ticket, that you have to sell on the platform they put you on. Again, not Ticketmaster's problem here. It's what the venue or the artist is doing. But when they do that, you've got a quasi-monopoly to get the most for your ticket if you're going to resell it. You have a quasi-monopoly, and yet Ticketmaster's fees may be 3 times what another set of fees would be. That's what bothers me a bit, is there's not a negotiated fee, and then as a customer, nobody knows what the deal is with Ticketmaster. And I'll just use X, Y. I mean, I don't on Ticketmaster. What the deal is with these folks, that the kickback that the venue, artist, or conference is getting from that fee, because I just flipped it on show fees without fees. A $325 ticket becomes $438 with fees.
On all of them, it's not the same amount.
No.
For the fees.
I just picked. That's what I'm saying. A $330 dollar ticket, or give or take, it was $100 and a few dollars more. So I mean, you're paying a third of the purchase price, and there's no place there's a competition over. Hey, we'll do it for 20%. You do it for 15%, and have a verifiable ticket.
Yeah.
You never can take possession of your ticket off the platform that the venue decides. And that, if we decide that's okay, we might not do anything here. But if you're going to let them have a monopoly, and more than likely, Mr. Chairman, get some money back for it, I bet you there's some money going back to the house, then there ought to be at some point a regulation at how much one can make providing the service and verifying the ticket. I mean, it doesn't scale up from $5 for a $50 ticket to $500 for a $2,000 ticket.
Well, you could sell that ticket on. I mean, it's my understanding that unless it is non-transferable, that you can sell it on a platform that you want to. Now,
But
you
you
know
do
the
it-
ticket exists because you actually have the tickets. If
You
it's-
actually don't. They're on,
well,
a
but
platform.
but you are selling your tickets, so you know you have a ticket. There are people who are selling tickets that don't have the tickets.
but the person I'm selling it to, because it's a non-verifiable ticket, doesn't know that. So
Well,
you're-
it's
you're-
their choice. They can go on to Ticketmaster and buy a verified ticket, or they can go on to StubHub and buy a ticket.
you make my point exactly.
Yeah, it's the person's choice.
But Ticketmaster has a quasi-monopoly for verified tickets, and they can set the rate whatever they want it to be. And if you want to have a monopoly,
Well,
there's
they're-
regulation that goes with it.
Yes, sir, but they are a primary platform, so they can verify the tickets,
I understand.
okay? AXS is a primary platform. They could
For the
verify their-
University of Georgia, SeatGeek is the primary platform, and they can verify
Right.
the ticket.
Yeah.
But because of that, they have a quasi-monopoly, and they can charge what they want. So, right?
I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that question, but I can find out.
All right, I wasn't gonna say
Representative Ridley to the rescue.
All right, so how is a monopoly? Let's just take this for an example. How is it a monopoly? If Ticketmaster's the company that I've hired to sell my tickets, they can verify that because they actually have the ticket.
Yes, they do.
So they own the ticket. Just like if I want a Ford truck and I go to the Ford dealership, they can verify that truck's out there.
Yes.
Now, if I want to go to Chevrolet and I want them to buy me a Ford, they can't because they can't go buy a Ford. Or if they take their used car lot and they go over and buy a Ford, then guess what they got to do? They got to mark it up more to make more money. It's the same thing with tickets. If you've got Ticketmaster, who's the company that I hired, who I want to sell my tickets as a venue or as a artist, that's who I've hired. They can verify my ticket. As you seen right up here just a few minutes ago, when they were looking at the place that had it, the ticket was cheaper because there was no fees. Ladies and gentlemen, what we have here is nothing more than a bunch of people coming from California that want to come in here and take our money and go back home. They're driving the price up, or for whatever, Connecticut, or wherever the guy was from the other day, because we pulled up a Hawks ticket that was $36. It was $63 by the time you added the fees. When I asked him, are you adding fees? He said, no, it was a 36% increase. When the ticket went up, the fees went up. So they're a middleman. They're a broker. Somebody's getting money off of it, and it's them. That's what's driving the price of the tickets up. I mean, that's the simplest way I know how to put it.
Well, and they keep saying Ticketmaster is a monopoly. It's not. I mean, you have, for instance, Taylor Swift. Her concert promoter is AEG, and they have a primary ticketing platform, which is AXS. But she chose Ticketmaster because they are, in general, the best ticketing platform, and that's why artists choose to use Ticketmaster.
So, just one thing. So, if Ticketmaster has a monopoly, Ford has a monopoly for Ford trucks, Chevrolet has a monopoly for Chevrolet trucks because that's what they sell. And you can't go to another dealership and buy a different brand unless it's used. But to buy a brand new and just like a ticket, you've got to go to that person.
But when you resell your Ford truck, you don't have to do it through a Ford.
That's exactly correct. You can go to the Chevrolet dealership and sell it, or wherever you want to sell it at, and you can with this here too. They're going to charge you more fees. It was right up here on this board. If you go back and look, let him go through it. Every one of them was more than what it was at the Fox Theater.
Well, let Ms. Maynard speak first. She's had her light on for quite a while.
My light's not shining.
I guess my comment is this, that the tickets are a product. The product is watching a service of some sort. And the artist is making a decision from the very beginning how they want their customer's experience to be. The artist can say from the very beginning, I want my tickets to I want my product to only be non-transferable, or I want my product to only be transferable. They're making that decision for their customer from the very beginning.
That is correct.
The next step to that is the artist is saying, I am making a contract, a legal contract with this company, and with this company, I want you to only be the person that sells my ticket. The artist is saying, I don't want my customers to go through all of this extra stuff. I only want my product to go through a primary person. Or the artist can say, I actually don't care what my customer goes through. My customer can go through 20 different companies. My customer can go through verifiable or unverifiable tickets. I don't care, because the artist is making the decision for their customer. We're not making the decision. The artist is making the decision. And so that is my comment. That
Well said.
Thank you. All right, let's see. Mr. Collins, you still want to?
So, again, to my friend, Mr. Ridley, his point, if it's a non-transferable ticket, I can sell it on your platform for whatever I want to sell it for.
If it's non-transferable, you cannot sell it on the platform.
Right. I'm saying
It will say non-transferable.
But if it's not a non-transferable ticket, I can sell it on
Yes.
your platform. How much? What are the fees associated with doing that?
I mean, I have no idea.
There is a fee, but it's
Yeah.
But
I think that, I believe Brian, didn't he give out that information? I'm not sure what it is.
yeah,
I don't know what the different platforms.
There's a set fee.
Okay, so just to make it real simple, the seller typically gets charged 10% cut. So if I sell you a $100 ticket,
Right.
Ticketmaster gives me 90, charges the buyer 120. It's usually a 30% spread.
Right. Okay.
And that's, competition's keeping it there. If there was no competition, it would just go higher because there's nothing keeping it.
So we do have competition.
We do have competition right now.
Okay.
And just a follow-up to Representative Ridley's comment, if Ticketmaster sold me a ticket as a PDF, then I could upload it on any other platform and it would be a verifiable ticket. That's the issue that Chuck Martin was, Representative Chairman Martin was talking about, is Ticketmaster has control of the primary market, has control of the verified ticket market because they know the ticket's there, it's in their ecosystem. If they sell me a ticket as a PDF, I can upload that on any other platform, and now I have a verified ticket that I'm selling in 7 different markets, and then whoever gives me the most for it, or the buyer, whoever pays the less for it, can go there. Does that make sense?
My only concern with that is counterfeit tickets. I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
well, I mean,
I can remember as a young adult, when you still had paper tickets, being concerned about buying, and you had scalpers all over, up and down the sidewalks and the streets leading up to the venue. That was a real concern, and it seemed to me that some of that went away when you had the mobile ticket. I could be wrong. That's just the way that I've seen it through my experience with purchasing tickets. So that was just my main question there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, number 15, who would that be? Ms. Hutchins?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a quick question. What is the, isn't the Department of Justice investigating Ticketmaster? What is the status of that? And the reason why I ask is because the fact that it's a monopoly keeps coming up, but I don't think that's under our purview.
yeah, so, no, yes, the Justice Department has continually, questioned Ticketmaster and Live Nation, but they haven't proven that it's a monopoly, obviously. So that's kind of where we are. I know that they just, one of the committees, and I can't remember whether it was the House and the Senate, had asked for some information. They wanted to basically know what the artists were, charging for in their contract. I'm sorry, they wanted to know what was in the artist contracts. And neither Live Nation is not giving out that information because it's a private contract between the artist and the promoter.
Okay. Thank you.
Wow.
When I'm saying it creates a quasi-monopoly, I'm not saying, just to be clear, I'm not saying that Ticketmaster is trying to run a monopoly. I'm just saying the contract they have with the artist and or in this, the example I gave with the SEC, that contract created the quasi-monopoly. I'm not trying to put them in any kind of an antitrust situation that they require that. I don't know if they require that in their contract or not, or the SEC requires it. So it's not that organization is monopolistic. It's the fact that the contract makes the only verifiable platform for that ticket on that particular event with that vendor. And yet the people that are buying the ticket the first time or buying it on a resale don't get to negotiate fees. To the gentleman's point, I think, to Representative Ridley's point, in his Ford truck analogy, you buy the original truck from, there. When you go to sell it, you can sell it to whomever you want to, but you negotiate the fee they're going to charge you to clean it up. In this case, it's just a little bit different, but it's not their business practice per se. It's the contract that creates it for an event by event issue. So just wasn't aware they were being investigated by the Justice Department when I said that.
That was.
They were. They weren't.
I mean, it's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
All right, Ms.
They haven't found that Ticketmaster and Live Nation is a monopoly.
Ms. Minor.
Question. So if the artist says to Ticketmaster in their private contract with Ticketmaster of Live Nation, whoever the contract is with, the artist can say, sell my ticket on your platform for this amount based on these tiers, wherever the seat is located. You can also do a contract, if you like, with some secondary retailers, a SeatGeek, a Seat Hub, or whomever. But that contract that you do with them, you can only charge my customers X amount of dollars. The artist can determine from the very beginning what they want the fees to be.
That's only on the primary platform, and the fees go to the venues.
But the artist can control how they want the entire ticket purchase to be distributed.
But that's only on the primary platform unless they have a contract with a secondary. But I don't really know the answers to whether or not an artist contracts with secondary platforms. I don't know.
Well, that's a question I have. Do
Okay.
artists have contracts with secondary
I can
retailers?
ask. As far as I know, I do not think so, but I am not sure, and I will find out for you.
Is someone here?
I can talk. We do not have any contracts with artists. Hello, my name's Sean Ash. I represent SubHub. We do not have relationships with artists to resell their tickets. I would say though that within the context of artists setting prices, Live Nation represents artists. This is the parent company, Ticketmaster. They represent the artists. They will own venues, ticket the venues, conduct primary ticket sales and secondary ticket sales.
All right.
But the artist doesn't have to.
Let me make a suggestion before this gets completely out of hand. We've got some folks that do want to speak. So is there any other questions for Chandler? If there's not,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It's been pushed for a long time. Can you see my button?
no ma'am, but you can push my button anytime.
Careful, Mr. Chairman. It's really sort of a base question that's kind of at the heart of this issue, and I might be taking a few steps back, but it's really about the nature of what's being sold here. I remember when I first set up my company, I had to set up a QuickBooks account, and I had a choice, product or service, and there's a difference. product being a physical, tangible thing that a consumer can take home, a service being what it sounds like. So I guess my question there is, when we talk about property rights and sort of, are we starting from a mentality that when a person purchases a ticket to a concert, that they somehow now own a portion of that venue, a portion of that artist, they have some sort of property? Yes, do they own, I guess my question to you is, how is the purchase of that ticket any different than the purchase of any other sort of reservation that I might make to occupy a space for 2 hours to 3 days, any place? I use the example of a restaurant. I make a reservation at a restaurant. That means I've secured a time sitting at a table for 2 to 3 hours. I don't own the table, the chairs. I don't have any interest in the venue itself. Same thing with a hotel. I make a reservation. I can't, I enter into a contract to purchase a reservation at a hotel. I have certain terms and conditions I have to abide by. Right? I can't take a reservation that I've made at the Hyatt, strip all the terms and conditions out of my obligation, my legal obligation, when I'm present on that venue, and resell my reservation and let somebody come in. I used the Airbnb example last time. I have a cabin in Blue Ridge. I posted on Airbnb. I have a no pet policy, right? Somebody reserves my Airbnb. They don't own a part of my cabin,
That's
right?
correct.
They are in possession of a reservation, and I certainly have an obligation to them to fulfill that reservation. But they can't take my reservation that they got on Airbnb, strip out my no pet policy, post it on VRBO, and start brokering reservations in my private property. So I guess my question to you is, how do you view, what is the nature of the service that's being sold here, and where do property rights start and stop as relates to the purchaser and the venue?
Right. Well, so the artist, of course, dictates the price of the ticket. It's the artist's product. I mean, it's their creative product that they're selling a show for a night, but the artist doesn't own the venue. The seat, you don't own the seat when you buy the ticket. Yes. It would be the same as a reservation or something like that.
Right. So therein you would think the property rights really rest with the venue itself. Who owns the venue?
Right, exactly.
In your opinion, my last question for you, who's the loser? I know we keep hearing that it's the consumer that's the loser. People keep saying, well, in the end, regardless of which side of the issue you're on, it's the consumer that may possibly be the loser. Who in your mind is the biggest instigator of the, who is it here in your mind that's actually taking advantage of the consumer? You can be honest. Your opinion.
My opinion?
Mm-hmm.
My opinion is, people that are selling tickets on platforms and they don't actually own the ticket. They don't have the ticket in their hands.
Right. So it's the scalpers.
Yeah, scalpers.
Out-of-state scalpers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you think of any situation in history when scalpers that engage in these types of practices have actually been positive for consumers? It's actually been a positive experience for consumers?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Representative Jaspers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just on that line of questioning, I think that if you had a reservation in a restaurant, a high-end restaurant, you could sell it without stripping out any of the services that were connected to it, unless the restaurant, as a Ticketmaster or whoever, had a non-transferable policy. It still would be yours. You're selling that moment in time that you purchased. That's the way I tend to look at it, being a property right.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I just want to follow up on that just a little bit.
Are you wanting to be recognized before you punch my button again? Punch number 3.
Thank you so much. All right, so I guess, and again, and part of this, we're talking about terms and conditions, right? And what resellers have the ability to do to tickets that are being resold. So let's say it's a case of a restaurant, there's a dress code, right, that you have to abide by. And when you purchase, when the original person purchases or makes that reservation, they enter into that. It's almost like a contract. It's a verbal contract. I'm making a reservation. But I'm agreeing to the restaurant's terms and conditions. If you have a dress code, I have to have a jacket or tie or a dress, right? I'm not going to show up and cut off some flip-flops. Well, you might. But I'm not going to show up in cutoffs. And so I guess what we're saying here is that, in an absurd situation where you would transfer or sell your reservation to another person, do I as a seller or whoever facilitates the resale of that have the right to strip out those restaurants' requirements?
No.
Wow. All right.
With respect to our secretary, Representative Earhart, it's not an absurd situation because, I was just in Phoenix and the concierge at the hotel booked reservations weeks in advance at certain restaurants. And when they check in, it's check we have a place, would you like to go there? You take the reservation. You, of course, agree to the dress code, the terms and conditions of the restaurant, but I mean, concierge, in your analogy, are the scalpers of restaurant reservations. It's all over in New York and Chicago that they book the reservations at restaurants so they have them available for their guests when they come. So I take your point that when you do that, resell it, gift it, whatever, you have to abide by the thing. That's not what we're talking about here, is it, Ms. Chandler? I mean, it's not talking about somebody getting the ticket. And doing something that you're not allowed, because if you do that, you're going to get shown the door anyway. The last thing I'll say, and you brought up a great point, I absolutely want to do what we can to protect the consumer, but the very fact that we only let one platform be verifiable, leads more to people that won't pay that fee on that platform or want to go someplace else having to deal with non-verifiable tickets. Look, you could debate this issue both ways. I mean, I'm not going to change the way you're thinking about some things, and you're not going to change the way I'm thinking about the things. I'm just concerned with people being able to work within multiple ecosystems, or if they're forced to work within one, I'm concerned about that ecosystem taking advantage of the buyer or the seller. Again, the ecosystem's not the problem. It's just the fact that there's only one. I mean, two people compete. One, owns the market.
Right. All right. I don't see any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Run
I will.
back to your seat. All right, we've got some speakers here. Chris Albrick. Mr. Albrick, are you here? Yes, sir. Representing AA Productions. All right. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. As the chairman and committee members, thank you for having me. As the chairman just said, my name's Chris Albrecht. I'm the partner at AA Productions. We're a full-service entertainment company. We book talent. We own all of our own production gear, stage, sound, lights, video walls, and we work with a lot of other promoters. And I've followed this bill a lot. I work with the Governor's Film, Music, and Digital Entertainment Commission, and there's a lot of flaws in this bill in its current format. I've listened to a lot of your concerns and dealing with this every single day. It's a concern that we live with, and you've identified a lot of issues, but the challenge at the end of the day is this bill in its current form doesn't fix those problems. I've heard a lot of people say, that the artist is the one that sets the price. If the artist is the promoter, that's correct, they do, but they're not always the promoter. Live Nation could be the promoter. They buy tours and they put them in Live Nation venues, and Live Nation venues use Ticketmaster. That is a venue choice or a promoter choice as to which ticket platform they use. I can't go to a Live Nation venue and use a platform other than Ticketmaster. I don't use Ticketmaster very often because there's some restrictive things within Ticketmaster that don't cooperate with our business. One being data. We can't control the data. We can't control the fees in a lot of respects with Ticketmaster. So we use another ticketing platform because we can offer our customers at the price we set when we buy the talent, those ticket fees. We set those ticket fees. Those are the ticket fees that we get that we share with the ticketing platform. It's no different than what any promoter would do, whether it's Live Nation or Ticketmaster or any other ticketing platform that they use. There's a lot of things that are out of control within the entertainment industry, prices being one of them. But a lot of that isn't just set by the artist. There are a lot of things within the industry that are affecting that, and we have no control over it. I went to go buy tickets to a concert the other day, and they were $400, and I said, there's no way I'm going to spend that kind of money to go buy a ticket. And I'm in the business, so I understand how the end user and the consumer feels. But I think there's a lot of things that, and we could probably sit in here all week and talk about a lot of the flaws within the industry and within ticketing. But in this current format, this bill doesn't address those things. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Good. Chairman Carpenter.
Thank you. Hey, Chris, good to see you, buddy. Question for you. Would it be fair to say that, as someone that works in the industry, that you feel the pressure of the monopolistic practices of Live Nation / Ticketmaster?
Well, I mean, we deal with Ticketmaster, we deal with AEG, we deal with Live Nation, we deal with all of the companies that are bigger than we are. And as an independent promoter, that directly reflects what talent we can buy, what venues we can use, what ticket platforms we can use. And so we have to navigate through that, but that's in a fair market system, that's an open market.
Would you call it fair market if they're controlling all the big venues, most of the promotion, most of the primary ticketing? I wouldn't necessarily call it a fair market. I mean, I think you compete, but I wouldn't call it a fair competition. I mean, it's almost like you're playing 5-card poker with 3 cards and they got 6. So I would ask your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, a big company has a big checkbook. If they want to go out and buy, let's just pick on Luke Bryan, he's a Georgia boy. If they want to say, Luke Bryan, we're going to offer you $25, $50, $100 million, I can't compete with that. When we don't have the capital at our disposal to go ahead and sign that contract, but there are those people that do. And those are the ones that go out and buy the bigger tours and that can, book those shows. And I mean, would I love to do it? Absolutely. But I'm not mad at them because they can.
All right. Ms. Manor.
Since there are small promoters and large promoters, and since larger promoters can potentially monopolize an industry, do you think, even though we are not in a state of wanting to regulate more people, do you think there should be better standards in place for promoters?
In which respect? I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, let's just say ticket fees. Do I think there should be regulation on ticket fees? Absolutely. But, if I choose to go with one ticket provider because we can offer lower ticket fees and we don't have such a higher cost with that ticket broker, that would be like me saying, I'm not going to take American Express because they're more expensive than Visa or MasterCard.
Okay, I like that. Well, not that I like it, but I like that you gave an answer of you would like to see ticket fees regulated.
Yes, I would.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Very good. Any other questions from the committee for Mr. Albach? Well, thank you for taking time to come over here.
Thank you for having me.
Hang around. Somebody might want to ask you another question in a minute. Sean August. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce it right.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Sean Ayash. I represent StubHub's government relations manager for StubHub. Just to kind of level set on what we are, and I know we've done this a couple times, StubHub is a secondary marketplace, which the chairman outlined earlier. We do not buy or sell tickets. We provide a platform for buyers and sellers to connect. We provide choice for consumers, and we provide customer service in that transaction. In addition to that, we support public policies that prioritize consumers' access to tickets and secure a safe and transparent marketplace. As part of that, what this bill does is it protects Georgian consumers' right to transfer a ticket, a right that they currently do not have. In 2023 alone, there were 7 concerts that had non-transferable tickets. One of my favorite artists, Zach Bryan, has a concert next year coming to Mercedes-Benz Arena that is a non-transferable ticket, which means that if we wanted to go together, but you were all stuck in a committee hearing, I would not be able to go walk in with you. I'd have to leave the concert to try to get you in. I wouldn't be able to transfer you your ticket. That being said, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Oh, sorry, apologies. One point of clarification. I said earlier that we did not enter into contracts with artists. To my knowledge, that's true. I'm actually going to run down and do some homework on that and circle back with the committee just to confirm that that's the case. Because I think there might be instances where that has occurred in the past.
Questions? Questions? No questions? Well, push your button.
I did, but it's not lighting up. Nobody's lighting up. Thank you for being here. Can you shed some light or just enlighten me as to why is it? And I'm sincerely curious, having sat through several of these meetings and also having spoken to a lot of folks on both sides of this issue by now. Why are, essentially what we're talking about is artists performing in venues or teams competing inside venues. Why is it that, from what I'm seeing, almost universally, without exception, both small and large artists and small and large venues are pretty much universally opposed to this bill? I have yet to find an artist or a venue, at least not one that's testified in this committee, nor spoken to me outside a committee, that supports this bill.
I don't want to put words in other folks' mouths, but for my position, I believe that currently they have all of the control. They control what happens to the ticket, and they want to retain that control.
Right. So do you believe that an artist ought to be able to have some control over how their fans are treated, how the tickets are sold?
I believe that. So if we listen to earlier, if the artists are setting the prices, it seems like there's a little bit of, we heard artists set the prices, we heard the independent promoters set the prices. Once an artist sets that price, or the promoter, and in some cases it's all one entity, if they're setting the price, that's the price that the consumer pays. If the consumer wants to purchase a ticket and then wants to choose to resell that ticket on our site, I believe that that's up to the consumer, and that's what this bill does. Is it ensures that consumers have the right to choose the platform of their choice. Maybe we charge less fees relative to another platform. Maybe they, as I said last time, maybe they just preferred the purple of our logo to the blue of Ticketmaster and want to sell it on our site, and that they can do that.
Right. If this is about the consumer, then where are the consumers? Because I certainly have not seen any of them lined up in support of this bill. I'm talking about the ticket buyers. Mm-hmm. What I'm seeing is a lot of support from folks that are in the secondary market, wanting to make a profit. But I'm not seeing this end consumer that you talk about, stepping forward or organizing or expressing concern to this committee that the state is in need of this type of legislation. If you're in it for the benefit and protection of the consumer, then why aren't we hearing from those consumers?
I believe there's organizations at the national level. There's a group that have put out the Ticket Buyer Bill of Rights that focus on a number of different issues, such as the National Consumers League, Consumer Federation of America, and they have supported a number of principles that are in the interest of consumers. For tickets, those are principles that oftentimes we are also aligned with, such as transferability, which is what this bill does, to protect a customer's right to transfer a ticket, which is not currently protected in the state of Georgia.
So your vital question, if I may, Mr. Chairman, does your platform use bots? And I know there's been a lot of talk about bots, and I absolutely agree with the chairman when he said that is an issue that needs to be addressed and we need to find a solution for it, no question. But your organization, do you use bots?
No, we do not. We do not buy or sell tickets.
You do not. Okay. Do you allow bot generated tickets, in other words, tickets that are purchased by bots, to be listed on your platform? I realize you're not buying them, but I'm saying, do you allow mass tickets in quantity to be listed on your site that were purchased using bots?
Well, so we would have no way of knowing whether or not a ticket was purchased by a bot. I believe the last hearing, the representative from Live Nation said that after they put on a ticket sale, they can run a report and determine which tickets are bought by bots. Bots are currently legal at the federal level. They are legal in the state of Georgia. The Georgia Attorney General has the ability to enforce that law, but though they are not those, when attacked by bots, they are not being reported to the state Attorney General, so there's no way for them to enforce what they do not know about.
Right, and I know and folks have talked about this before. We want to draw a distinction between a legitimate resale of a ticket and, let's say, a less than a less than legitimate resale. One being, you've purchased a ticket to something and you can't attend and you just want to resell, okay? Uncle Ernie's bought a ticket to, Blue Oyster Cult, and he falls and breaks his hip 2 weeks before and he can't go. I've heard a lot of talk about that. Well, what about people that suddenly can't attend and they need to be able to read, and they need a way to resell their ticket? I would ask you, and because I know I've read a little bit about this and I've seen some evidence of this, how would you then explain how your platform is obtaining tickets in the hundreds or thousands within 5 to 30 minutes of tickets going on sale for an event? I mean, I think it's safe to say that not that many people are purchasing tickets and then realizing that they can't go. Clearly, this is a resale situation. So what I've been told is there's really no way for platforms like yours to obtain that large quantity of tickets so quickly after tickets go on sale for an event without the use of a bot. What would you say to that?
So we do not use bots. Like I said earlier, we do not buy or sell tickets.
Does your platform facilitate the use of bots through some other party? Through a bot, somebody's out there that's a bot, and they're providing, and they're listing. You have no way of knowing, is what you're saying, is if the tickets listed on your site were generated through a bot purchase.
Right. We would have no way of knowing whether or not that ticket was purchased via bot. There's one entity that does, and that is the primary ticket seller.
Right. Okay. And just my very final thing. So since you don't know, I would assume it would be safe to say if 1,000 tickets are showing up within 5 to 10 minutes of tickets going on sale, and they're now available for resale already that quickly, it's safe to say those were probably acquired through the use of a bot.
That I can't speak to. I know most of our sellers on our website are consumers selling tickets. Sometimes consumer might want to sell earlier. I can't posit as to like how quickly and when or why and
right. And do you believe that bot generated tickets that would be available on your platform would be good for consumers or bad for consumers, the average consumer?
I don't know what a bot like a ticket purchased via a bot.
A ticket that was essentially scooped up from the market. We talk a lot about free market and the availability of products and services, right? So this would be a situation wherein a bot comes in, manipulates the free market by manipulating the availability of tickets by using an unfair advantage to scoop up those tickets so they're not available to the average consumer to buy.
Yeah, that is absolutely unfair, and that's why it's illegal in the state of Georgia and at the federal level. And that's why I think it needs to be rigorously enforced. And the best way for us to enforce that is to give the people who have the power to enforce it the information necessary to be able to enforce that law.
Thank you for your leeway, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Chairman Dubnik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My button doesn't light up either, but I'm not going to press yours. So, can we talk from a technology standpoint for a minute? With all due respect to my colleagues who have had questions, and I'm sure we could probably go around the room and get a lot of opinions. But since you're at the microphone, I'll ask yours. In your opinion, to Chairman Martin's questions earlier, does technology exist that I can buy a ticket and ultimately transfer it anywhere that I want it to go?
Yeah, that technology currently exists, but it is not universal. For example, in 2023, there were 7 concerts where there were non-transferable tickets. We heard earlier about the prevalence of non-transferable tickets, and in our experience, we've seen the number of concerts or kind of events with non-transferable tickets, we've seen that pace increase. And so with technology and with tickets, happening, as Chairman Powell pointed out, on our magic phones, in order to make an event non-transferable, you just press an enter button on a keyboard and you can make that happen.
But non-transferable tickets would be a choice that an artist, a venue, a sports team, et cetera, made, correct?
Yeah, I can't speak to the specifics of how that relationship or that contract works, but theoretically, the person selling the ticket makes that choice, be it any one of the number.
Sure. So my point there is that's a choice that someone made, an artist, a venue, a team, for whatever reason. The example that was given where I only want my fans to be able to come, so we don't want them to be. But from a technology standpoint, if I buy a ticket on platform A, and there is at least one more platform that exists, that I could transfer it, sell it on that platform, or ultimately get it to a different consumer. Is it fair to say that technology exists?
Yeah, that technology exists. I think what is important is to ensure that that remains available to consumers to be able to have that choice. Because right now, when you have one company that is dominating the primary sales of the primary ticket sale, as we heard earlier with the verified fan, right? If they sell the primary tickets, they can easily verify the secondary tickets. It becomes easier for you to list your ticket on their platform. And all we're asking is an opportunity to compete. And the way that we do that is ensuring that you as a consumer can transfer your ticket. This bill says that when you buy a ticket, you can resell it. It doesn't say that you have to resell it on StubHub. You could still choose to do it on Ticketmaster because it's a lot easier. But we want to be able to compete for that ticket, and that's why this bill is important.
Does this, put the bill aside for a minute.
Yes, sir.
I'm still on technology. Does technology allow that, regardless, again, Platform A, I'm agnostic to the platform, that if that was the primary marketplace, therefore, if I resold it on Platform A, I would assume that Platform A was going to be able to verify that. So if Representative Hilton wanted to buy it, he would see it's a verified ticket. Does technology exist so that the verification process could follow the ticket? Or is that a marketplace, a service that could be created where I could now make my own fees, right? By somehow tying in, getting partnerships. And I'm strictly, this isn't about whether you agree with that or not. I'm asking from a technology standpoint.
Yeah, so I think, and this is a really good question. So first of all, I think the best comparison to that might be airline tickets, right? If you can go and you can buy an airline ticket through Expedia, you could buy it directly through Delta, you could buy it through a number of different, use a travel agent. And so that industry has figured out a way to allow, and we all know, given security concerns and all sorts of different things, that each of those companies have figured out a way to verify that when you buy a ticket on Expedia, it's still that ticket. Oh, sorry, apologies. So that makes me think that there is that technology does exist, but it would involve all players coming together to work together to create that.
Okay.
If that makes sense in the ticketing industry.
Mr. Chairman, one final question, if I may.
Yes.
So to your point, it would be of benefit to the entire industry, your specific for-profit business included, for that kind of process, product, service, whatever we want to call it, to exist. And that would be good for the consumer. And ultimately, if you could provide that service and charge for it, it would be good for, just being honest, it'd be good for everybody, right? So technology could enable a number of these processes and these, I feel like we're pitting, one service versus another versus the Fox Theater versus Taylor Swift versus whoever, but we're talking about the consumer, and ultimately we're getting back to the concept. If technology exists, then I'm a big believer in it. Utilize technology, and somebody gets paid off of that. No offense to Chairman Martin talking about capping fees, but I'm going to pay more for a verified ticket. I just bought a new car for my wife. I bought it for a specific dealer because they could certify it. I paid for that. It was a consumer's choice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Chairman Collins. Chairman Collins.
Kind of to my colleague's point there about the technology. When people come to your venue and or your platform and they want to resell a ticket, you clearly state your terms and conditions on there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you feel like these non-transferable tickets, when they're being sold to consumers, do you think that they're not being forthcoming with the fact that if you click this button and purchase this ticket, this is a non-transferable ticket?
So I think so it's listed underneath the ticket. It's disclosed. I would say it's somewhat confusing. I went to look at, again, I'm a Zach Bryan fan. I went to look at the Zach Bryan tickets in next August. And what I was confused about is there was a pop-up on the top that said, delivery of the tickets and transfer the tickets, and your ability to transfer the tickets will not happen until 30 days, or, there was a certain specified amount of time beforehand. But then underneath, when I went to go select the ticket for purchase, it was listed as a non-transferable ticket. So that could create some confusion, but they do outline that it is a non-transferable ticket.
Okay. Follow-up question, if I may, Mr. Chairman. Back to the botting.
Yes, sir.
You said you were a little confused as to whether your company was a primary seller of tickets. You were going to check with that.
Oh.
You were going to get back with us to make sure you were 100% correct on that.
That was on whether or not we entered into agreements with. So we're not a primary seller. So we might have agreements with artists. I was going to confirm that we do not have agreements with artists, or if we do have agreements with artists to sell the secondary tickets.
You can stand here before this committee today and give testimony that your company does not use any type of botting to procure tickets for sale. Is that?
Yes, sir.
You're
Yes, sir.
certain of that?
Unequivocally,
Okay.
we do not use bots for the purchase of a ticket.
All right. Chairman Carpenter.
I actually just want to show some. If I could plug my phone into the screen right there, I just wanted to show everybody something to kind of help try to make it a little more easy to understand something about barcodes and.
Do you have a USB cord on you by chance, or?
No, you got to have the Apple phone.
No, I don't have the lightning
All right.
charger.
Never mind. Sorry for the committee.
Thank God, I thought you was gonna ask me to do it for you. I could burn the damn building down. All right. All right, do we have any other questions for the gentleman? Well, hold on. Technology.
Do you have a normal USB, the bigger one you're looking
My. I used to look forward to the day before there was so much technology.
I need to remember to stretch before coming up in front of this committee.
You might have to take a picture, like a screenshot of it if you can.
We have a couple of more speakers that are lined up to speak. Hello, dear. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, technology just is what it is. All right, we have a Mr. Fitz. Ryan Fitz. Hello, Ryan Fitz, and you are with, no, I'm having trouble. What is that? Something Seats?
Vivid Seats.
Vivid Seats, all right. Thank you, Mr. Fitz.
Good afternoon, Chairman Powell, Vice Chairman Washburn, and members of the committee. My name is Ryan Fitz. I'm Vice President and Deputy General Counsel from Vivid Seats. I haven't met many of you, so I'd like to take an opportunity for just a brief 2-minute statement to tell you about my company. Vivid Seats offers award-winning customer service. We've been routinely featured on Newsweek's list of best companies for customer service and ticketing. We accompany that service with a leading loyalty program in the industry that rewards every purchase. When a fan buys 10 tickets from us, the 11th is free. Since our loyalty program inception, Georgians have earned over $2 million worth of reward credits, which can be used to buy tickets on our website. When fans buy tickets on our platform, they do so with peace of mind. Every ticket sold on Vivid Seats is backed by our 100% buyer guarantee. A promise that the fan will receive valid tickets delivered on time and as described, or else the fan gets their money back. We support this guarantee with a 300-person call center located in Texas with hours from 7 a.m. to midnight. We are a proud partner of Major League Baseball, and beginning next year, a fan can buy a ticket on our app and then use our app to enter any MLB stadium.
We support House Bill 398 because it stands for the proposition that fans should be able to transfer tickets on the platform of their choice if they not use the tickets themselves. Billboard magazine has reported, and I'm quoting here, that a small percentage of Taylor Swift fans made huge profits reselling their Eras Tour tickets on sites like StubHub as professional scalpers mostly had to watch from the sidelines, close quote. Fans should have the right to resell tickets when they can't attend an event, or if they choose to realize the upside of a high-demand event, as apparently some did with Taylor Swift.
If you would,
Reselling a
Mr.
ticket-
Fitz, could you pull that mic
Oh, sorry.
closer to you?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Reselling a ticket should be like reselling a Ford. You shouldn't need the manufacturer's permission. Guaranteeing ticket transferability is good not just for each fan who holds a ticket, it is also good for the entire ticketing ecosystem because it promotes competition. When a fan has multiple options for buying or selling a ticket, competitors are forced to compete on price and services provided. Recognizing that transferability is good for competition, Colorado, New York, Connecticut, Virginia, Illinois, and Utah have enacted pro-transfer laws guaranteeing fans the right to resell tickets, and pending transferability legislation is active now in multiple states. Vivid Seats supports those laws, and we encourage the legislature to enact similar legislation so that fans in Georgia can remain in control of the tickets they purchased. Georgia citizens, your constituents deserve that certainty and protection. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Very good. All right, questions? All right. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What would be the technological solution should fans be able to transfer their tickets either just to give away as a gift and or to sell? What, in your opinion, would be the solution that would get us there?
Well, I mean, for one thing, if this law passed, you could have an open API between marketplaces where tickets could be transferred. So I know right now the NFL has such a system where there's ticket resales through an official ticket resale program. MLB has a program that we just joined. So it would be some sort of API between the systems.
Would you explain the API, please?
So it's short for Application Programming Interface, and it's how different systems talk to each other, different computer systems.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Is there, Hart? You pushed my button and it came on that time.
Forgive me, I think I'm trying to remember something you said in your opening statement about enhancing the secondary marketplace, contributing to the price of tickets going down. I think maybe it was a general comment you made about increased competition driving prices down.
Right.
Is that I heard correctly?
Yeah.
So I guess I'm kind of curious there because I would pretty much say that in everything that I have seen, this might be one of the exceptions to the rules. I have never seen an instance in which an increase in secondary marketplace scalping has caused ticket prices to go down.
Oh, I think at least half of the tickets on our site are below face value, and I'll be happy to provide examples to your office afterwards.
Okay, but those are probably tickets that are there's not a big demand for. We're talking about competition here.
I mean, there's
Right.
a whole range of demands as far as like it could be an April baseball game that people aren't that interested, or it could be Taylor Swift. So there's a range of interest.
Right.
And so it's a market, and so sometimes they will be over face value and sometimes below.
All right, thank you.
Chairman Dubnik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So two quick questions. One, to kind of follow up on Representative Earhart's comment and what you're saying there about like not exclusive, but verified marketplaces like the NFL has. So sticking with my technology theme. So technology does exist today. Is that correct? Where your platform could talk to, and again, with all fairness, Platform A could talk to Platform B, could talk to Platform C, and allow that?
A digital transfer of a ticket would be possible between marketplaces, yes.
Would a professional sports team, the NFL or the Atlanta Falcons, would they have the choice to choose, which platform that they wanted to be their primary provider and in this situation and still allow those other platforms to participate?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Okay. And then maybe just final question. Do tickets exist? So you're a reselling platform.
We're
am
a
I
resale
correct?
marketplace, yes.
So similar to what was just said before, you don't buy nor sell.
For the most part.
Okay, that changes my question. I'll stick with the question.
Okay.
You're a reselling platform.
Mm-hmm.
do tickets exist on your platform for sale, or for purchase before the primary marketplace, artist, sports team have put them on sale themselves?
So we have a service called Seat Saver. It's a ticket procurement service, and we clearly make that disclosure to fans. It gives people an option other than dealing with an on-sale that can be frustrating. So Seat Saver, it's kind of like Instacart, right? You don't want to go to the grocery store on a crowded holiday weekend. You hire somebody. So Seat Saver is the same thing, but it's just for tickets. And I think really it's important to make a clear disclosure there, and people should understand what they're buying and get what they pay for.
I understand, but how is that, I guess as a consumer, I just, to Chairman Collins' comment, I just got 2 kids. They just want to go to the show. I just want to buy the ticket. Am I therefore, is it made known that I'm paying more for that in this case, on that marketplace?
Well, again, in a lot of cases, our prices are below face value.
Okay. Are you guys buying those tickets and
No,
then reselling them?
For the most part, we don't. I mean, we do receive some tickets through various partnerships that we have with teams, and that's the purchase that I mentioned, but generally speaking, we are not buying tickets.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for the gentleman? Yes, sir. Please do. Number 2.
Thank you. As Chairman Powell said, there's a lot of questions, but besides Seat Savers, the option that you have, are all your other tickets, I guess the word is verified, that a seller to you has them in hand?
Yeah, I mean, we have
or in their queue somewhere.
It's a requirement that we have, and we have a large anti-fraud team, and we're very careful with who we let sell on our site. So I mean, the ultimate verification will come from the venue, but we sell valid tickets to events, and we guarantee every ticket.
So you guarantee, but how do you verify that Representative Earhart here has that ticket and that has it for sale on your
right? I mean,
site?
There are high-tech ways and there are low-tech ways. Like the low-tech way is simply if we don't know a seller, we don't pay them until after the event, right? That's real simple, because then you can avoid people who are trying to run a scam. And the higher-tech ways, I don't want to get too far into here in a public setting, but there are also ways to validate tickets remotely.
Thank you.
All right.
I was getting started.
Number 11, who would that be? Well, Mr. Carpenter, you have now moved seats.
I think I remembered what I was going to ask a minute ago before all that. All right, so my question to you is, we've had a lot of talk about how the secondary market, customers are paying more for their tickets. But is it not true that a lot of venues hold back tickets and let them out a little bit at a time to create artificial demand so that the consumers are paying more for tickets?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, tickets, the initial on sale of the ticket is not as simple as it was in the 90s when I started going to concerts, right? So, there is not a 20,000 seat venue and all 20,000 are put out for sale. Generally speaking, tickets are held back, especially with major concert tours. And that's done for a variety of reasons, but it could be done to create a false sense of scarcity, because if you're the consumer, you're not aware of, what's the actual availability there. So that could have a negative effect, yes.
And then one follow-up from that. Is it also not true that you've talked to us about the technology exists, and the NFL and Major League Baseball are requiring their primary sellers to use technology that goes across all platforms? So the technology exists, it's just that one particular primary decides not to use it in all the other areas unless they're required to by the NFL, Major League Baseball. So the technology exists to solve this problem that we're talking about, but the primary provider of tickets has decided only to use it when required by the certain entities.
I don't know about the motivations or decision-making for the primary, but those situations exist for NFL and MLB. So there is technology, yeah.
All right. Ms. Earhart.
Thank you. Where is Vivid based? Where are you from?
So we're based in Chicago. Half of our employees are there, and the other half are in Coppell, Texas.
Okay, where are you from? Are you local?
I'm from Wisconsin.
So you flew in for this hearing?
I did.
What would you say to a lot of our Georgia-based artists, small and large, that are opposed to this bill, feel it's detrimental to their industry? and to small and large venues. Some venues are very small. And then, of course, we've got large venues here in Georgia who are also opposed to this venue. I mean, having come in from out of state and supporting a bill that local artists, Georgia artists, and Georgia venues oppose. I mean, what would you say to those folks?
Well, I think there's a few things here. One, I think what we're debating or discussing today and throughout these hearings is who owns the ticket once it's sold. There's an initial sale doctrine, and after that point, who should own the ticket? And we believe it's the new buyer who owns the ticket, and artists have a different view. I think there's been a lot of polling on the matter, and consumers seem to think that they own the ticket, and I think that's something that people want to be able to do.
Yeah, I think we all agree that also bots are kind of the devil in the room that can really manipulate the market in an unfair way. How much assurance can you give this committee that the tickets available on your site were not? I realize you're not buying them. I was going to ask you about that because earlier you said you buy some tickets, and I know that was a distinction that was drawn with StubHub that they don't. They're just a platform. Other people buy them and put them on the site. You said you do buy some tickets, but then you clarify that by saying those are
in partnership agreements.
Understood. So then what assurance can you give to this committee that the tickets that are available on your site were not sourced through a bot? In other words, they were acquired through a bot.
I think first of all, we prohibit that. I mean, it's a part of our legal terms. Secondly, I think that it's hard to say what is a bot traffic ticket and what isn't. I think that there's some important legislation in Washington right now. It's called the Main Event Act. It's from Senator Blackburn, who wrote the Bots Act in the first place. And what it's requiring is that people who have that knowledge, the primary sellers, disclose that to the FTC when they have a bot attack. So we're supporting that bill, and it also supports basic cybersecurity measures.
So you say you prohibit it?
We certainly prohibit it, yes.
How do you do that? How do you prohibit that? How do you?
Well, I mean, it's against our terms, and again, like I said, I mean, there's all kinds of ways that tickets get onto the resale marketplace. There are performers that sell direct to brokers. There's a news article a couple years ago with Metallica, right? There are certain sports teams that RFP whole sections of stadium out to resellers. So there's all kinds of ways that things get over to resale. It's hard to say in some cases what is the presence of bots or what isn't. I suspect the presence might be exaggerated simply because I don't see any enforcement. It's unlawful federally. There's been one enforcement. It's unlawful in New York. There's been one enforcement, and another dozen other states where there hasn't been any enforcement.
Right. Does I've heard that some platforms have invested a good bit of money into sort of researching the bot issue and trying to combat it and fight it. I don't know, has Vivid done any of that? Are they engaged, or have they made any investment in researching? I know, and then the chairman spoke to this earlier, that it's a problem that we need to solve.
Yeah, I mean, from where it's sitting, where we're sitting, it'd be very hard for us to look at a ticket and say, oh, that must have been bought by a bot. It's hard. It's not,
right.
We can't do it. But I mean, we do invest in an anti-fraud team. We do invest in other safety measures for consumers.
Right. And my final question, would it surprise you if I'd heard that Vivid is one of the worst offenders of bot-acquired tickets? That you have this is what I have heard. I'm certainly here to allow you to speak to that.
Yeah, that's outrageous. I don't know what that is, and I'd love to have evidence of that.
Right.
I've never heard that, no.
Right, but you're telling the committee here today you have no way of knowing. If 1,000 tickets appear on your site within 30 minutes of a concert going on sale, you have no way of knowing.
Yeah, I'm not sure to what extent that happens, but a bot traffic ticket doesn't look any different from a regular ticket.
The distinction there would be that a large volume of tickets would show up at one time versus Uncle Bob selling his here and somebody else selling theirs there, right? A large influx at one time would perhaps.
But there are venues that give a lot of tickets, especially in sports teams, to brokers.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. All right, any other questions? Yes, sir. Push your button.
You said, my button, there you go. Do you think the purchasing of tickets through botting is not detrimental to the consumer?
No, I definitely think it is. I think the Bots Act is a good idea. It should be enforced.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do we have any other questions?
Oh, no, thank you. I went back on my seat.
We've gone through this far without you being recognized today, Brother Williams, so let's move on. All right, if there's no further questions of Mr. Fitty, then we have one more signed up speaker. Thank you so much. Well, I hate to see what's going to happen when we actually go into session and try to start piecing this thing together. We could piece the piece of sunshine on the back of Mars, you know. All right, Brian Hess of Sports Fans Coalition. Welcome, Mr. Hess.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Brian Hess. I'm the Executive Director of Sports Fans Coalition. We're a national consumer advocacy group devoted to anywhere public policy impacts the games we love. This includes sports betting consumer protections and making sure that problem gambling, people who may be addicted to problem gambling have resources. It includes stopping public financing of sports stadiums. It also includes protecting the right to transfer. In previous testimonies on this bill, we, along with the National Consumers League and the Consumer Federation of America, submitted testimony calling for our ticket buyer Bill of Rights, of which transferability is just one element of that, and I argue probably the most important of them. Transferability is a key component to any kind of consumer protection legislation and ticketing. And I'm hearing a lot of issues in the committee today, and I love everything I'm hearing about how bots are a scourge that we need to stop. I've got solutions for that. I have solutions for spec ticketing, all-in pricing, all of these things. I can provide model language to address them, but to bring it back to what is actually on the bill today, that is just transferability. Transferability is a pocketbook issue for your constituents. We looked at 25 million resold tickets to every major league sporting event for the last 5 years, 2017 through 2022. $260 million in savings for fans having the opportunity to buy resold tickets. Tickets oftentimes do go below face value, and the average savings on those tickets was enough for a fan to buy a beer at a game. In Atlanta, in Georgia, those Georgians already saved $7.4 million. The difference is in states that protect transfer, the average savings was $14 million. Transfer leads to savings for consumers because it allows more fans to get access to tickets and allows them to find, and it creates competition on the marketplace, which only benefits consumers. That's why we believe that this bill is a good bill to pass on its own. I would love to address a lot of the other concerns that you have through model legislation and our language for that. But transferability alone is a good enough bill and policy to push forward. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
All right. All right, committee, we have a gentleman who's not in the ticket brokering business.
I have never resold the ticket.
You know?
I have never resold the ticket.
I was certainly afraid when he started off his conversation that he thought that sports betting had already been sent to this committee, but we'll have to wait a month or so for that.
I've got lots of ideas for that, Chairman.
All right, number 15, that would be Ms. Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted you to repeat what you said earlier when you first started. You said that your organization stops income to sporting events?
We are opposed to the public financing of sports stadiums. We don't believe it's a responsible use of tax dollars.
Okay.
Unless there are a variety of other benefits that come to the fans as a part of that. But generally speaking, we oppose public financing sports stadiums.
Thank you.
All right, number Vice Chairman Washburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, did I understand you to say that in a lot of situations the tickets are resold for less than face value?
In many situations, yes. There are tickets that go above face. Those are often for high marquee events, popular concert tours. Taylor Swift is the name everyone's using these days. Playoff games, the Super Bowl. But in general, you can buy tickets below face value. I mean, Braves tickets in particular over the last 5 years, $2.9 million in savings just to go to StubHub, Vivid, Ticket Network, any of those other platforms. Below face value oftentimes for Braves games, for Falcons games, and for Hawks games.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Certainly.
So in many cases then, it is just a consumer who bought a ticket to the game, now can't go and wants to recover some of his investment.
Recover some of it. A lot of it is, especially in sports, season ticket holders. Buying 40 games to a baseball season's a lot. No one can go to that many games, but if I can resell some of those tickets, help me maintain that investment in my fandom. I'm still going to most of the games, but a couple rivalry games here and there that might help me resell them and afford the ticket packages. So a lot of sports fans, because of the season ticket package deals, rely on resale to help cover that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you. All right, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to make sure I understood you. Is it not true? I can understand why Falcon tickets are selling under face. Damn. I want to make sure, just for clarification purposes. There's not a whole lot of under face value stuff out there, though, is there?
There is. We found that at least for sports tickets alone, a third of the time you will find tickets below face value. And like I said, on average, that savings is enough to actually get a beer, maybe a hot dog. I hear Mercedes-Benz has actually affordable concessions, which is shocking. So you might be able to get a little more for that. But it's also really important for families of 4 who want to take their kids to the ball game, and that those savings on per ticket can add up and be really significant to them.
I'm going to keep my eyes open because only tickets I know going like that is the Allenhurst Blue Devils playing the Savannah Bears.
Well, I actually have a couple games coming up that I can share with you.
All right. Now, I don't want any tickets across the street.
No, these are on reputable platforms.
Give me Georgia, Alabama. Give me a ride on that.
So for December 29th's game against the Kings, Ticketmaster is selling them for $54. StubHub's selling them for $43. For the Hawks versus the Pacers on January 12th, Ticketmaster is selling them for $40. Ticket Network is selling them for $30. Atlanta Hawks versus Lakers, Ticketmaster is selling $159 and Vivid is selling $149. So those are all just face value, but fees oftentimes compete in our comparable across platforms.
And where are you from, sir? What's your organization again, please?
Sports Fans Coalition.
Okay, and are they here in Georgia?
No, we are based in D.C.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you.
All right.
Tickets for last week.
All right, do we have any other? Chairman Collins.
Have you testified before this committee before?
I believe 2 hearings ago I did, yes.
Virtually?
Yes, sir.
Was TikTok one of your customers? One of your
No,
clients?
that is someone who represents NetChoice. I do not have any affiliation with TikTok.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, do we have any other questions from any of the committee members? You know, you're not a committee member, but since it's your bill and since you've been the instigator of this misery, then then I would certainly be willing for you to ask him a question. Are you wanting to ask him a question, or are you wanting to speak?
I was just wanting to close this out.
Well, I want to thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I've got your phone number. You seem to be the absolute most straightforward guy that I've heard in the whole crowd.
Well, I appreciate that,
And
sir.
I want to thank you, and I hate it that do you live in the Washington area?
I do. I'd rather live here.
Well, you certainly have my sympathies with where you live.
Thank
and
you,
it
sir.
could be worse if you lived in Atlanta, but I can always entertain you to Northeast Georgia.
I would love to. Thank you, sir.
All right. Ms. Earhart, did you have, Ms. Earhart, did you hit your button by mistake?
I did, but I waved.
That's quite all right.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I know it's been a long afternoon, so I'm going to keep my comments brief. At the risk of sounding like Yogi Berra, this is deja vu all over again. But I want to, like many of you here, I'm a solutions-oriented legislator, and so I like to see things move forward. So I'll make a couple comments and then answer some questions and then sit down. The bill at its core is 10 words or less. It really comes down to 8. If you buy a ticket, you own it. If you buy a ticket, you own it. And if we go back to our constituents and we tell them, if you buy a ticket, you own it, bipartisan, across the line, everyone will agree with you. Yes, that's what I believe. I support that. And if you go home to your constituents and say, I passed legislation that says if you buy a ticket, it's yours and you can do what you want with it, your constituents will nod your head and say thank you. There's been many issues addressed here, and we have language to address many of those, and I'd be happy to add that to the bill itself. We have language that we can add in that addresses bots. We have language that we can add in that will address speculative buying. We have language that we can add in to address all-in pricing. But this is a 2-page bill that really just says if you buy a ticket, you can sell it. Is there technology, Chairman Dubnik touched on this, is there technology today that allows you to transfer from one platform to the other? There is, yes.
Will that technology exist going forward? I don't know. It may not. And that's why today we want to enshrine this in Georgia code that says you, the consumer, have a right to that product and to be able to sell it technology agnostic on any platform that you would like. You know, if you were to poll your constituents and say, hey, how easy is it for you to move your ticket off Ticketmaster onto a different platform, they will tell you horror stories. In fact, I've got many that I can share. In fact, I've got many that I've heard from our own constituents. One in particular, or one from our own colleague, one in particular that went to Morgan Wallen this past weekend, or a couple weeks ago. He had a parking ticket to the Delta lot here at Truist, and went to Ticketmaster and tried to resell that ticket. They said, you can't resell it on any other platform except for Ticketmaster. I know many of you, I left an article on your desk there. If you refer to it just real briefly with me, there's a couple lines that I found particularly interesting. Now, I'm just going to read directly from the article here. From the third paragraph, one option that Ticketmaster could use is SafeTix service to digitally lock tickets in place and prevent fans from transferring their tickets. The technology exists to lock your ticket to prohibit you from reselling it on any platform, effectively blocking all ticket buyers from reselling their tickets on sites like StubHub. But the downside was that while many fans liked the idea of blocking scalpers, they didn't like having their own tickets made non-transferable and found such restrictions inconvenient. Ticketmaster proudly announced that less than 5% of their approximately 5 million tickets sold of the tour ended up being listed on secondary markets. Ticketmaster is proud of the fact that they have technology to prevent you, the consumer, from selling on different platforms. Now, you may sell on different platforms. The price may go up, the price may go down, depending on the event. But what will happen is fees will go down when more people have to compete in the secondary market, and consumers will win. Finally, the outcome of all this is on the final page. While the outcome of the story is surprising, the fact that 83% of available inventory tickets sold on StubHub were sold by fans and not ticket brokers. Technology exists to keep the bots out. Ticketmaster is employing that, but they're also employing Ticketmaster to keep consumers from reselling their tickets. It was talked about earlier, is this a monopoly, a quasi-monopoly? Has the DOJ approved it or not? They may not have proved OJ was guilty, but we know he's guilty. The DOJ may not have proved this is a monopoly. I'm sorry, Al. Yeah, he's innocent. Yeah. The DOJ may not have proved anything about Ticketmaster. But if you ask your constituents, to me, this feels like Microsoft in the 90s all over again. They're making the computer, they're selling you the computer, and the computer's coming pre-sold, pre-loaded with Microsoft Windows. And hey, if you want a different operating system on your computer, good luck. Ticketmaster owns the venue. They contract with the artist. They sell the primary ticket. They sell the secondary ticket. And now they're trying to trap you in that ecosystem. Does it exist today? Yes, you can escape that ecosystem. But it's tough. It's not easy. There's a lot of friction. There's a lot of complaints. I know Chairman Carpenter here, he had a great Facebook post, and I'd encourage you all to do the same. Tell me what you like and don't like about the ticket market. Your Facebook will be flooded with comments, many of them applying to this issue that we're trying to solve right here. So again, I would welcome additions to this 2-page bill to address bots, speculative selling, all-in ticket pricing. And I know those in the industry on both sides agree on those issues. But again, I think bipartisan across the aisle, everyone would agree it's your ticket. Do with what you want with it.
You have a couple of questions. Ms. Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you keep saying that the problem is we don't own our tickets. Is the language you're looking for, you want to protect your transferability versus ownership? Because I think those are two different things. Because I go to 95% of Atlanta United games, and there's been way too many times I've had to have people removed because they're disruptive. And if they own their seats, from what I understand, we can't have them removed no matter what they do. So is the issue transferability or ownership?
If I might clarify what you just said, you know, and I think there's nothing about a venue that you can't expect good behavior. but if you've had to go on to a United game, that's soccer, is that right? Yeah. Well, them people are crazy as outhouse rats anyway.
They're a lot of fun, though. They're a lot of fun. And the great thing about Mercedes-Benz is you can text security. You can just text them from your phone and say, "Hey, this guy is acting up."
And they'll get rid of them. I mean, this isn't like a wide world of wrestling. Ms. Earhart.
Two quick questions. And actually, as a matter of interest with Mrs. Hutchinson's, with Representative Hutchinson's question about being ejected, that's actually something that was communicated to me, to members of this committee by members of the Braves, that, you know, there are folks that are ejected. There are folks that are expelled, not permitted to attend Braves games, you know, and the terms and conditions that are negotiated with their secondary, with their platform allows them the freedom and the right to be able to either permanently or temporarily eject those folks. When you start imposing property rights onto folks' seats, what they indicated to me, and I heard from them, was that it's very likely there will be a slew of litigation from disruptive and unruly attendees at events that get ejected from the game and believe that they have a right to that seat. That's really not a question. It's just I'm saying that's something that's been communicated to us.
Yeah,
I know I've heard it.
Again, the bill doesn't do with property rights. This is the right of you, the owner of the ticket, to buy and resell it how you please. The Braves have technology, and the bill and the legislation still allows them to kick out fans, ban fans, do whatever they please.
But what I'm saying is that the platform they use now allows them to track those banned fans. That would not exist on the secondary marketplace and the resellers. They don't have those list of banned fans. They can't. You're saying they ought to be able to sell to anybody they want to. Does that mean they ought to be able to sell to banned fans?
But in the Braves testimony, they also testified that people attend based on tickets of all kinds of different platforms, including the ones that they're not contracted with, and so they've got that problem existing right now. That they've got fans coming in there that they don't know who they are.
And I get that, but you also understand though the benefit there in terms of an organization like the Braves, the protections that they have by partnering and contracting with a secondary seller that is committed to upholding the terms and conditions of their venue. You can see why that would be a protection, not just to the Braves as a venue, but to other attendees.
Well, I'm confident the Braves have the technology and infrastructure and platform to keep us all safe when we attend.
Well, I understand. And I look forward to hearing them talk more about that, perhaps when they attend at a future hearing. My final question was, you mentioned 83%, I think in the article you were reading from, 83% of tickets sold on the secondary marketplace are sold by individuals and not organizations or whatever. But I just want to clarify, every secondary scalper that has come and testified before this committee that I have asked the question of has said that they have no way of knowing. They really have no way of knowing. You say 83% are individuals, but they don't know that those didn't come from bots. They've told us they don't know. So I'm not sure about the differentiation there between the 83%. They can't prove that those are actual individual people, is what I'm saying.
I mean, I'll trust the reputable reporting of Billboard Magazine and their knowledge of the entertainment industry. I mean, in regards to 83%, yes, that was in the article, but I mean, there's another 80% that comes to my mind. And again, it goes back to Ticketmaster. They host the event, they contract with the venue, the talent, but then they sell 70 to 80% of all primary tickets in the market. And then they're trying to control the resale market as well. So, I mean, numbers that are very, very concerning, and the reason that we're here today.
Thank you.
All right. To the committee members, any other more questions? Do we have anyone in the audience that has lasted this long that wants to be heard from? I know that I had a text earlier today, something about from the songwriters. Them folks out here, they want to sing to us or whatever. I mean, we've heard about everything else. Do we? Well, that being said, I want to thank the. I see somebody. Yes, ma'am.
It's a maze.
All right. If you would identify yourself and who you are and who you're representing.
Sure. My name is Mala Sharma, and I represent Georgia Music Partners. So the songwriters, the independent venues here in Georgia, promoters, and you've heard from a lot of our members. Is this thing working? You've heard from a lot of our members over the last I mean, since we've been going round and round with this bill, I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen and to learn. It is a very complicated issue. And unfortunately, the language in the bill is not as simple as is being said. One of the issues, that really is jumping out to me is we've had probably thousands of events in Georgia between the sporting and the concerts, and only 7 of them were non-transferable. So why are we setting policy for 7 shows that the artists or the venues who are investing, who are risking their, they're funding those programs, right? They're taking the risk in putting on that concert. They're renting the venue. It's their intellectual property that's on the line. And if they determine that they want to keep ticket prices down, and you can only sell, and let me clarify the other thing. Non-transferable does not mean you can't transfer it at all. It means you can't transfer it above face value. So you can always sell it within the fan-to-fan marketplace. So non-transferable, 7 events last year, according to the StubHub guy. 7 events out of probably thousands. I mean, to me, the issue at hand is the consumers and banning all speculative tickets. Let's put a cap on fees. I think we all agree with that. If you want to buy and sell your tickets individually, great. Let's do it. Let's cap the amount you can sell it over so that the bots and these companies that let the bots flourish can't, exist. None of them are from Georgia. You've got Georgians here. We're united. It's our sports teams, our venues, our artists, performing arts centers all around the state, theaters, nonprofits. We don't understand where the problem is here. And you can't say there's a monopoly, and yet, you have contracts with Major League Baseball. I mean, it's working. Tickets are being bought and sold right now. The technology, they just want it to be easier for them to sell more tickets. And I've got some polling and data that says in 2 years, the secondary ticketing market is going to be a $10 billion industry. And that's money that's taken away from fans, sports fans, music fans, consumers. That's hurting Georgians. That's, we would like, I think we all agree, to be able to go see a sporting event, buy a ticket at the lowest price possible so that we can go and enjoy it. That's not what's happening. And I mean, that's it. I'll yield for questions, but I appreciate you guys asking these tough questions, but take a look at all those that are opposed to it and the people that are pushing it. We're your constituents here.
All right, be careful what you ask for. You might get some questions from this crowd. All right, committee. Miss Maynor.
Thank you, Chair. Do you know if any of the secondary markets are, since it's going to supposedly be a $10 billion industry in so many years, do you know if any of the secondary markets are giving back to the community?
I don't know if they are. I do know that, the artists certainly do in our state. The venues certainly do. We contribute economically. We contribute culturally. We're a part, fabric of, towns large and small across the state.
Reason I ask that is because a lot of venues are in my district, and where a lot of these venues are, the surrounding communities are underserved. There are people living in poverty, and I would think that these secondary markets, if you're listening, you should reach out into these communities if you're doing business in these communities to help the people. That's it. Thank
That
you.
would be great if they were here and they were listening.
All right. Questions?
Chairman.
Mr. Jasper.
Thank you. I just want to follow up what Representative Hilton said there a minute ago with you. He says it's 7 lines about the ability for an individual to sell a ticket. And I think that's the underlying issue. There's probably other stuff in the bill that you may not like. How would that hurt an artist?
So we have no problem, and right now you can sell tickets on secondary. They want to make it easier. Again, no problem with that if they want to make it easier. The problem that we have with the language in the bill is it takes away the artist's ability. The artists have a contract with the venue and with the promoters when they are putting on an event. And they determine, based on the longevity of their career, how long they want to tour, they determine the cost of that ticket, right? And they want their fans to be the ones in the room. They don't want people halfway across the world buying tickets strictly to resell. What happens is sometimes those tickets, the ones that are selling for lower than face value, people don't show up. Fans have missed out on an opportunity to come to that show. Venues are not selling as much beer and wine. It hurts the independent venues. But what this bill does that hurts artists and venues is it is basically taking the artist's ability away from holding tickets for their friends and family, for sponsors. It's requiring that there is no longer an artist, promoter, or a venue hold on tickets, which is a real problem. We're assuming the risk. We're putting on the show. We are rehearsing and auditioning, and this bill is basically saying when those tickets go on sale, we don't want you to be able to invite your family, which, and it's a very small percentage typically, less than 5%. But if Taylor Swift wants to bring 100 of her fans or her family or, people who have, if she wants to do a fan club giveaway, that should be her right as an artist, as the one who's putting on the performance. This bill takes that right away from the artists.
If we go back, Mr. Chairman, if I can just finish. Yes, please. You may need to come to the microphone, Representative.
If you have the bill in front of you, I just want to correct something that was said. I'd refer to lines 43 on down, 48. It specifically addresses for any kind of promotion, discounted price, fan clubs, organizations, civic leagues, societies, they can hold back tickets. I just want to clarify that testimony there.
Well, I guess what I want to follow up with both of you there is, it seems like the real question, the 7 words you think, are as if I bought a ticket after whatever you've done with holding back tickets and blah, 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 I can sell it. If I'm the individual who's bought that, well, I think in some ways that there's some prohibitions against that, it sounds like. And so that, as Representative Hilton says, the basic of the bill is the ability to sell.
Yes, sir. You can do that now. There were 7 instances over the last year where you couldn't, where an artist like a Zach Bryan or The Cure have asked that if you are going to resell those tickets, just sell them for face value within the fan-to-fan marketplace rather than the pro-scalping websites that are pushing this bill, so that they can make their billions of dollars as opposed to fans buying them at face value. So the problem is not necessarily that they're not able to. So for every other show besides 7 of them this year, they were able to do that.
Thank you. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I guess I would just...
Microphone.
Sorry. Yeah. That's kind of weird. I don't know if I'd fit. Let's see. Oh, yeah, there we go.
You're young, you can do that.
Yeah, there we go. The testimony was that it's already happening right now, and that's what the bill does. So I'm struggling with what the issue is. And then I would also submit, or ask, from the other side that may be opposed to this bill. I've seen here it's all about common sense, bringing things together for a common solution. We're willing to address bots, speculative selling, all these issues that have been brought up. I feel like we haven't really seen any kind of solution to address what some of the concerns are on the other side about giving power back to the consumer. I understand that the artists are against it because, they're losing the power that they have is now, some of that is moving over to the consumer side. And that's for this committee to kind of weigh and balance is where do we want that balance of power to be? Do we want the balance of power to be with Ticketmaster, the venues, the artists, or with our constituents?
All right. Any questions? All right, committee, you got, this young lady's freely offered herself in the Lions Pit. Ms. Misha Maynard.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question for representative of the artists. So if the artists want to control who is buying their product, how much fees their consumers have, can the artist or the promoter in the original contract say, we only want 20% of our tickets going to resellers? We want to cap fees at any ticket seller at X amount. Can they do that?
To some degree. So in every situation, there is no two cases that are similar, right? So that's a lot of the problem. I think artists at the Taylor Swift level have a lot more negotiating power than a smaller artist that's starting out. We keep talking about Live Nation and Ticketmaster, but we have hundreds of venues here in Georgia that are not Live Nation or Ticketmaster venues. And we've heard from some of those in the previous, and we've got ticketing companies that are Ticketmaster ticketing that are Georgia-based ticketing companies, right? But those contracts are kind of, it's a three-way agreement between the venue, the promoter, and the artist when they put those together. And they're all structured differently based on, how many tickets you think you can sell, making your numbers. It's a risky business for the smaller artists that are trying to then work their way up the ladder, so to speak.
I have a follow-up question, if I may. So given what Representative Hilton just said, in his opinion and the opinion of others, there is a struggle of who has the power in the ticket. Is it going to be the artist and the venue, or is it going to be the consumer? If you could not have your way, not your way, but the people opposed to the bill, if they could not have their way, what would be something that you would be willing to put on the table for the people for the bill?
Ban speculative ticketing.
But that's not
cap the fees. I mean, these are there's this bill does not create a healthy music industry ecosystem that what you will see is what you saw with a tour like someone had mentioned, The Cure. The word starts to get out that, Georgia is not a consumer-friendly place, because now you've got ticket scalpers that have, the scale has been tipped from one monopoly to another, and that's essentially what this bill is doing.
So you like the bill, but you would like the bill if you added some other things to it.
Stripped it and banned speculative ticketing and cap all fees.
A version of this bill is passed in Colorado and in New York. New York, one of the entertainment capitals of the United States, and you don't hear any people are still going to plays, musicals, the world hasn't ended in New York. So I hate to compare Georgia and New York with anything. But it's an example of the fact that this is in law there, and the world hasn't fallen apart. With the issue is the artists want two bites at the apple. They want to control the first sale and then what happens in the secondary market. And this is not even addressing, and you're probably more knowledgeable than I am on the whole issue of holdbacks. They sell in the primary market, hold back some of the tickets, and then dump those into the market at some point as well. I know. Go. This is high school debate.
All right. All right, Vice Chairman Washburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just so in your world, perfect
Yes, sir.
world, there is no markup of a ticket at all. You do not think a ticket should be
I mean,
sold above what the.
Years ago, that's how it was, right? There was no scalping laws, but they've been dismantled because there are these companies that are profiting at the expense of consumers.
Well,
and so when you say that this is a pro-consumer bill, it actually allows them to sometimes, some of these tickets are marked up 500, 1,000%. If, where's the protection in those? You hear about the ones that some of them are selling below, and it's because that's not a hot ticket item.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I would suggest the protection is, however, no one holds a gun on that consumer and makes that consumer pay any price. And so there is the option of saying, no, I won't pay that. So I just think that is just a point that should be made, that nobody makes a consumer pay any price for anything.
That's true.
It is the free market at work to some extent.
I just want the committee to consider, too, we just came through a worldwide global pandemic. Imagine how many events that you and your families and all of our constituents weren't able to attend because they were at home quarantining. And imagine if these protections weren't in place and they weren't able to resell tickets to events that they had bought and gone to. I mean, it's an extreme example, but this word scalper has a negative connotation to it. I'm a scalper, you're a scalper, my grandma's a scalper. I mean, another pandemic hits, we're all scalpers trying to unload tickets to events that we can't go to. If these protections aren't in place, we're going to have a lot harder time to do that. She was a barber.
All right. All right, do we have any other questions? I beg your pardon?
Yes, I do have some.
Press your button. All right.
Well, that was funny, Representative Hilton. I do appreciate the analogy there, but somehow I have a hard time thinking the grandmother who can't attend because she broke her hip is in any way, shape, or form similar in any way to large out-of-state professional scalping organizations that are in the business of making money on the backs of consumers. Real quick in closing, I did want to ask you. You referenced how some of the artists could be harmed by the bill. Could you speak just briefly, very briefly, to the sorts of effects it may have on some of our smaller venues across the state? I mean, 'cause I know I have them, a lot of them in Cobb. There are many of them in Atlanta. Some of the negative impacts that it can have on not our big venues, but our smaller independent ones.
Yeah, and you did hear from some earlier, but these smaller performing arts theaters that also oppose the bill, these are community theaters, that may or may not be able to. If let's say they've got a hot ticket coming through a Broadway show in that town, that's a big event, right? Someone swoops up those tickets, and then suddenly they're selling them for more than someone can afford. And to Vice Chair's point, people have decided, oh, we're not going to go. Well, that performing arts venue thinks that people are going, but because those tickets were bought in mass, suddenly there's maybe 50 empty seats that they were not able to unload because maybe the tickets were higher. That performing arts venue thinks that many people are coming. They make their money off of concessions. They make their money and they hire people for safety based on that. And when the margins are so narrow for those events, it hurts a business that still frankly hasn't recovered from the COVID.
So you think it might be safe to say that it might disproportionately harm the smaller venues even? You know, the larger venues can absorb some of the pain, right? Some of the cost, but the smaller venues might be particularly. Do you believe, my final question, do you believe that consumers and purchasers of tickets have power in Georgia?
They do right now. They said that for most of the shows and events in Georgia, this was not an issue except for 7. And those were the ones where the artists deemed that they would like them to not be transferable.
And I
above
appreciate your
face
clarification of the non-transferability. It doesn't mean you can't transfer them.
It doesn't mean you
just
can't
means you
transfer.
can't hike up the price.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from any of the committee members? You know, this has been delightful today. You've been so pleasant to fill in as the last speaker. And, you know, I think the one thing that that you'd said that's kind of resonated to me, I think I finally realized what the whole deal is. I've been wrong about this whole issue that I said that, you know, entertainers, sports teams, to me, they got their money up front when they sold the ticket. So, but now I understand, and you said it yourself, they're PO'd because somebody out there is making money off of a ticket and they ain't getting their part of it. And it's all about greed and it's all about money, folks. And that's what this whole issue is. Now, for the committee members, you know, this is kind of an interesting issue. I want to thank Representative Hilton for giving us fodder to stimulate our brains. All right, we'll be in session inside a little over a month from now. You know, you need to take a good look at this. You know, you need to decide what your feelings might be because we'll be having a few more meetings on this. I think for the sake of the committee and for the chairman, this is going to go to go to a subcommittee when we go into session, when we can actually move on this. Now, that being said, there's a special people I didn't recognize. I'd like to recognize the wife of our vice chairman. Donna has sat here diligently in support of her husband, and what a great lady she is, Donna. And not that I would want to be remiss that I didn't recognize the other housemate to Representative Earhart. Her housemate's here. Earl, good to see you. Yes. Now, I want to thank the folks here. If there's anything y'all want to discuss, we've got a couple of days of doing nothing while we're waiting on this reapportionment. If y'all want to do something, let me know, and we'll try to get another meeting up on something, but not necessarily this subject. All right? That being said, thank y'all for being here.